try not to swear.
Okay. What, is that within the first 15 seconds, or we'll get demonetized? Or...
Oh, you think this is monetized? Oh,
I don't know. You could be skimming off the top.
There'd have to be a top to skim from, Bench.
Hey, we're in the age of influencers now. We could become influencers.
Oh no!
And therefore there
Oh.
could be a top.
I'm gonna show my crypto coin then from the start.
No,
okay,
it's 2024, not to 2020.
Oh, okay.
You're a bit late for that.
Damn it. I've got a multi-level marketing scheme. If anyone wants in.
That's probably about accurate. Does it involve bathwater? No, wait, that's 2023.
No, PayPal's still holding my money on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, she's moved on now.
It was only five quid, but I'm not as popular as Belle, so.
Okay, that's nice. My PC has just told me we are live because I get an email from YouTube when we go live. How's that for progress?
You have to know.
But I have to know. Yes, because I'm literally staring at OBS right now.
Yeah, but what if you weren't? Then you would know.
I'd be really confused.
What if Russia hacked your computer and went live to share
I don't have
secrets?
Kaspersky anymore. So how are we all?
Yeah, alive.
I mean, I'd gather that. If you're broadcasting from the undead, I'd be very surprised.
There's a whole new Kickstarter campaign with that. D&D, but everybody's undead.
It's a catchy name.
Oh, I think it's called like Eberron's something of death.
See, now that's less catchy, in my opinion.
I thought you were going to go with Matt Mercer kills D&D, but there we go.
Oh no, he did that already.
Isn't Matt Mercer like our Lord and Savior of D&D?
He is.
You can. I guess you can be both.
There's this thing known as the Matt Mercer effect, which is basically that loads of people want to start playing D&D, but expect a Critical Role style experience going in, and obviously the majority of DMs aren't Critical Role level.
Really? Like voice actors, and
and so people get put off, and it's known as the Matt Mercer effect.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The more you know.
You're not winning any like voice acting accolades, Alex, with that connection. Just
I was going to say, his connection seems to be okay at the moment to me.
It sounds a bit gravelly. It sounds like he's eating like a load of kitty litter.
That's just Alex.
Yeah, he might have been on 20 a day since you last saw him. You don't know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I was just doing a bit of moving around. I'll do it to you. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know in the stakes of like who's had the most happen to them since we last recorded. Who's going to win that? Sort of challenge.
Oh, I'm sad now.
I don't think that's a one we have to go down.
No.
Yeah, let's keep that pissing contest for another time.
I mean, I thought what we'd cover today is like a brief catch up on where we've been for the last 3 years, because goodness knows. Kurt and I can have a bit of chat about the Welsh. Hello!
Hello.
We are live on YouTube.
Please do not swear.
I mean, you can. It's set to adults only. Well, not adults only. It's set to...
Roger.
Oh, God. It's only going to get worse from here, isn't it? Yeah, so... bit about where we've been for the last 3 years. Bit of Welsh... I want to say Welsh Open. It's Welsh Masters. It has been for a very long time.
Yeah, when was it Welsh Open? I don't know. 2013? I don't know.
It's a good question, isn't it? And then maybe a little bit on the whole Steamforged thing.
That's all I'm here for.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And then, of course, because we are legally required to, it does end with a painting table.
Oh.
So, just on the subject of the whole Steamforged thing, Kurt, I don't know if Did we talk about that at Expo? Because
No, it hadn't happened.
I feel like no, it hadn't happened at Expo. It happened the Monday after.
Yeah, I talked to Loxham like 10 minutes before I talked to you.
Right. Because I don't know what day we connected the dots, but it was definitely by Saturday we'd connected the dots and we had a suspicion what was going on.
There's been a couple of people who said they'd kind of followed that trail, and with PP's site going down, and
yeah,
somebody told me on the Friday that something was happening and they weren't sure what, and they don't want to say because this had happened and that had happened. I'm like, oh, okay. And then literally a few minutes later, hi Rich, how are you? And then no, I did not join those dots at all in that synchronicity manner. I did not connect those things together. And then I didn't know until Monday. I knew nothing. I knew that something was happening. I would not have put any money on somebody else is buying War Machine. Somebody who knows buying War Machine. What? Sorry, what?
Yeah, we kind of got a bit of an inside scoop. I mean, I can't say any names because I don't want to put anyone at risk of anything. But yeah, we got a bit of an inside scoop from Privateer about stuff happening.
Because somebody else's connections from previous kind of role type things, who was not a million miles from us while we were talking. You have to think about through now. Don't hurt yourself. That's right.
Pardon?
Don't hurt yourself. It's all right.
No, I don't think it was. No, I don't think it was that said connection. But yeah, and then someone else we knew from the Guild Ball community was saying that SFG had specifically they'd heard it on the grapevine that they had purchased an IP, which is quite unlike what Steamforged do, wherein they just sort of publish a game for an IP.
Yeah.
Dots were connected. Yeah, they did A and B together and got 4.
Cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Are we going to do any 2024 election coverage as well, or is that out?
Could we do it in the post show, please? Like
what? Keep it in the or
yeah.
what?
This is not a political show.
Okay, this is not a political.
Unless the political show is about the Iron Kingdoms.
Yes, the deep and rich political history of the Iron Kingdoms.
Hey, maybe.
I
just in the interest of sort of educating those who don't know, definitely not that I'm one of those included. Obviously, there's been a big change from War Machine as we knew it to War Machine as it is today anyway. You know, the whole sort of I sort of exited the game just as the Infernals were becoming a thing, and then there was a whole sort of story arc there with model swapping factions and things like that at one time.
There was a whole time skip after we left.
Yeah, I mean, end of Mark 3, a lot of models went to Infernals, so you got people like Crows.
Yep.
What was the Signal one with the sniper rifle lady?
Cara
Sloan.
Yeah, Sloan went Infernals.
Really? I know that Duke, what's his face? He went. He went to.
So did they just write them out, or are they literally just became part of that other faction and had new models?
Some got new mod. Well, some I believe were included in the faction, at least in the playtest. I know Midwinter was, for instance. Some were only ever changed faction in the fiction and in some theme forces.
Yeah, there weren't that many models for the faction as a whole.
But you did get some very weird theme forces near the end, like the one that was effectively Mercs with Cadre jacks. Okay. Yeah, a lot of weirdness happened that they literally had to tear the world down and start again. Dave Bartley saying, you can't not talk about SFG. No, yeah, we can't not talk about them. We do have to.
contractually obliged.
But yes,
I mean,
what you got was they made the world an absolute utter mess at the end of Mark III. They blew the whole thing up because they knew they'd done a proper what was it? End of Mark I Legends or something? I can't remember. They went too over the top and it just broke the game.
Well, Mark III obviously was where a lot of us left. It's where the game stopped. Like Mark 1 to Mark 2 changed a lot of the base game rules. Mark 3 tried to do the same thing, but just went in a way that a lot of players weren't enjoying. And combined on top of that, the problems they were having with just getting models and getting models onto shelves. Then I think COVID kind of hit in as well and just exacerbated problems that they already had.
That crippled the hobby market entirely.
Yeah.
But I will tell you what the problem at starting Mark III was. It's the fact they didn't launch with the Mark III steamroller.
Also true.
Mark IV had some minor issues with that, and it's now got its new steamroller, which is just this strange new creature that is doing some very different things.
We're having a conversation about that on Expo, weren't we?
Yeah.
I think Mark III's biggest problem was that it focused far too much on the competitive and kind of left the hobbyist and casual gamer behind. It was such a precise game, and you just got steamrolled, literally, no pun intended, by people who had spent more time and energy on learning how to do that, and it became unfun. There was no fun side to the game towards the latter half of Mark III for me.
The key thing that I've seen that kind of has rolled back a little on that is even serious tournament like the Welsh Masters. You see people now, and they do the proper thing that the Mark IV rules kind of introduce, which is they measure the distance for the one model in their unit, place that, and then the other two, it's like there and there. They don't get the 2-inch widget out unless it's like just stupidly important. Most of it's like, yeah, there. That they'll do.
That's a word I haven't missed, is widget.
Oh!
The amount of bloody widgets that...
I have the Elite Cadre widget tray bench.
Oh dear. You're going to do a hand-sweeping gesture over it and say this is a... Are we still selling that crap? Are you still selling that crap?
I never sold it. We never did.
Is this how you skim off the top?
It was always given away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All the merch that was ever produced for Elite Cadre is stuff that I paid for and gave to people.
No, I know. I just imagine you with a vast financial empire somehow from this podcast. I don't know why.
Vast financial empire. Okay, Benj, I want you to take a nice, just shot in the dark guess of how much the value of all our sponsorship was financially to the podcast. Just round figure, add it all up over the 10 years we originally broadcast. Just how much financially?
I doubt you made a profit. I could imagine maybe.
I think it was at least 45 pence.
All the sponsorships added together. Have a guess.
Did we ever get sponsored?
Yes, we did.
Holy shit!
We did. Yeah, we did.
Yep. To the nearest £10.
I know we just about covered hosting sometimes.
The honest answer is 0.
Oh.
We were sponsored in product only, and usually that was product we gave away.
Holy.
So we had Terrain Geek as a sponsor for a very long time. Yes, we did.
I remember the Terrain Geek stuff.
And that was mainly to get a discount code for people, so they could order from Terrain Geek and have slightly cheaper things. We did have 2 competitions with them, I think. One was I gave away a set of fully painted steamroller objectives that I'd done. I know who's got those, but I haven't seen them in years.
Didn't we have bronze ones at one point? Or fully bronze?
Bronze ones. I don't remember that.
Not made of bronze, but painted bronze.
You may be thinking of the John Webb's...
is it from one of the
coins that he did?
No, I remember the coins. I was thinking there were some steamroller objectives, and I remember there being we had some Terrain Geek ones, and I thought they were just painted all in bronze.
I know that we gave a full set of Terrain Geek stuff away, and they may have been included in that. But it was a set that I never saw and just went straight from. It was Stu that's Terrain Geek, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he's still doing.
Is Terrain Geek still going?
Painting.
Oh, he is. No, I do see his videos occasionally about. Painting up black powder epic scale. I'm like, oh, that's tempting.
But he's not Terrain Geek anymore, is he? He's he goes
Miniature
back.
Realms, I think.
Yeah.
Miniature Realms too. So I realise we've actually kind of fully gone into podcast mode already.
Yeah.
So might as well do some form of an intro. Hello and welcome to Elite Cadre.
Just, Mike, sorry, before you do that.
There we go. So perfect. I've waited so long for that interruption again. Oh dear. Yes, we are now.
Are we sponsored by Audible? This one?
No.
Oh, okay.
I did at one point try to get an Audible sponsorship, but they didn't respond to me. Yeah, it's weird. They respond to everyone, but us, they're like, no, not you. But yes, we are the War Machine podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm Mike.
Wow, I actually forgot that. I'm Alex.
Who's next? There we go.
I'm Benj.
And I'm Nick, because I always go last.
Hooray!
Say goodbye, Nick.
No, that comes at the end.
That's not yet. We've got stuff to do first. So it may have escaped your attention, or not, that we've been away for several years at this point.
A while.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Our last broadcast was in 2021, which was very much we've fallen out of love with War Machine, and what are we doing podcast, which was interesting. I did listen to some of it the other day. My major suggestion was that perhaps we should take the War Machine model list and perhaps halve it, and only keep that part for competitive. I think PP may have taken me a little bit literally on that one, but there we go. So yes, here we are.
Bit on the nose.
Yes.
So are you basically taking full credit for Mark IV War Machine?
Yeah, why not?
So you're taking credit for invalidating most of my armies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
I'd like you to know that if I could be there, Benj, I would take every single invalidated model out individually, especially the painted ones, and stamp on them. Just,
It's a bit brutal, isn't it? Just saying.
That is a little bit mean.
It really is, yes.
Especially the painted ones.
We have to start with those because it teaches a lesson to the rest. But yes, we are back for spurious reasons. Mostly that Kurt and I have started playing again.
Played each other. We actually played each other.
Yeah, that was terrifying. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, indeed.
And well, I know Benj, you've said that there's potential for you to come back in.
I do like the Gravediggers. They do look interesting.
And then after that, of course, we have two of the people who are hangers-oners to the podcast, and they are here as well. So, yeah.
I'll have you know, I'm an industry insider now.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Actually, at that point, do you have to declare an interest at the start of every show?
No, because nobody knows what it is.
Wait,
okay.
is Alex connected to Steamforged?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just a rival company.
If you had to guess at one game that Alex was connected to, what would your guess be?
Start with a B and end with an O.
Battletech. Wait, oh no.
Battletech is actually a great minis game. Let's talk about Battletech for half an hour.
Battletecho. No.
Battletecho.
This is not a Battletech podcast, and it never will be so long as I am alive.
Aww.
I've had to play that down the club. I was not a fan. I'll put it that way. Well, I played the reduced version. Battletech, is it First Strike or something? Oh,
I think
it's clearly a very mainstream game.
Yeah. I mean, there was a huge stand of it at the UK Games Expo, and it was selling a lot of product.
For mainline BattleTech, yes, and it's a system for very dedicated people who can remember that many things all at once. And
How do we turn Alex's Bushido plug into BattleTech?
Because we're desperate to talk about anything other than Bushido.
Yeah.
It also has a working PC game that plays the system pretty well.
There you go.
in their MechWarrior game. So you know you
He
can.
did try and sell it to me last week. He did, and he did a better job selling it to my children than me. Actually, it was close. He was right. It was close.
Is that Bushido or is that BattleTech?
Yeah.
The game is good enough that if you're not interested, then that's fine.
It's good enough that you never see it on any shelves. Anyway,
I saw some.
Wow.
I don't know. Where do you
Was
buy
it on the
models
Bushido stand? Does it count if it's on the Bushido stand?
Oh, okay.
In fact, we should all say that we did all go to UK Games Expo the other week. Actually, Ben, did you go? Can't remember.
No, I was sick.
Yes. Okay. Yep. No, we'll move on from that. Most of us went to UK Games Expo the other week, and isn't that a different show to the one that we first visited?
I mean,
near the start of the podcast.
UK Games Expo is where I started War Machine, right? It was the place I bought my Signar starter, did my first demo back when it was. What's the name of the road at the top of Broad Street? When it was in
Hagley.
that. Yeah,
Hagley
it was on
Road.
Hagley Road in that big convention
Clarendon
centre.
Suite.
The Masonic
The
Lodge.
that
Yeah.
was it, and it was much more about game demos and playing games and things, and how different it is now.
So for reference, when I first started going to UK Games Expo, and it was in that Masonic Lodge, not only was it a lot smaller, but when I turned up, they could actually have all the pre-sold tickets in named envelopes at the door.
Yeah.
That was how small
one of
it was.
the most startling but biggest sort of comparisons I actually made at the weekend was I commented that I remember when UK Games Expo was mainly old men with sort of their very abstract little board games that were basically just like a grid with little wooden chits on them, and everything was sort of theatre of the mind, and he's so much more polished now than
That's
than it was back in the day.
that's Salute now. They all just moved to Salute.
I mean, I'd say like there's actually not a huge amount of like demo games, and those that are filled within the morning. The majority of the stands there are accessories or art or pieces.
I've played quite a few demo games. I think there's quite a lot of demo game options. Board games wise, not wargaming, because it's not really a wargaming thing, is it? It's more role playing board games. And there are, you're right, accessories. But I played some demo games. I bought some games based on demo games.
Yeah, there's quite a few stands of demo games, but the one that you don't see that's actually, I believe, missing from halls 1 and 2 and is somewhere else entirely, is the playtest area.
Was there a playtest area?
Yes,
I didn't even find that.
There's an entire area where people, aspiring board game designers, can book in and say, I would like this amount of time to demo my game to people. And people can just turn up and play.
There was stuff in the hotel that I didn't see.
Yes, there is more stuff at the hotels. I don't know where it is exactly, because Expo is huge. It's 3 halls plus a hotel.
4 halls, kind of, because you've got 1 down the bottom, 2 at the top, 3, and then there's the 3A, which is with the food and those kind of bits.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the queue, which I turned up to. They told me ticket sales were in here, and you could just see at the back wall, like, a row of tables. I'm like, I'd have to walk over there. Nightmare.
Did anyone go to the Bring 'em By this year?
I went in late on Saturday, so most of it has been raided by that point.
I did not.
It's still 3-hour plus queues nowadays. I don't know. I remember one year.
It might have been on the Friday, but it was probably pretty hefty on the Friday.
I saw it on Friday. I didn't go to it as such.
Yeah, it's. But yes, UK Games Expo. It's moved on a lot. Sadly, missing the Expo Masters. However, I ain't going to run it. Someone else. They can find someone else for that.
What about with this new Steamforged?
Expo Masters used to be go and play in the Masters and not see the Expo at all. I never saw it for years. I just went to play the game, play War Machine, and left again.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Nick. So I'll do one of my scene transitions and see if it works here, because I have a button that enables me to press this thing here and go to the news. Yes. So it was a big announcement. Was it at the weekend?
Monday?
Wasn't it? It's Monday today.
Last Monday.
Last Monday. It's really been a week already.
Yes.
It's been some time. Where it was announced that Priority Press are no longer the owners of the War Machine IP. It has been sold to Steamforged Games. Now, Priority are still involved in the development side and the rules side of the game, but the product, shipping, marketing, that's going to be on the shoulders of Steamforged. Now, that was an interesting occurrence.
I mean, if we look at where Steamforged started,
Yep.
we all were there. It's from effectively a bunch of War Machine players.
So I did
Yeah,
actually
very much.
I did actually go back and listen to some of this the other day. So this is episode 103 of Elite Cadre. Episode 11 was the Steamforged episode where we had Rich Loxham.
That early?
Yes.
Jesus.
Episode 11. We had Rich Loxham on, talking about how Steamforged was a community of War Machine players who were streaming games and having recordings of them put online. Back when Vassal was still a major thing in the community.
Vassal.
Yes.
I think widgets were the first thing that was produced as a physical thing, I want to say.
You might be right.
I've got one somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I have the Steamforged. It wasn't radial deployment. It was
which type widget?
It was the flank deployment widget they produced.
Yes, that's it. That was it. You're right. That's what it's called.
So back when War Machine had, you didn't deploy in the corner, but you deployed in like the bottom left 2/3 of the board, and your opponent was in the bottom left 2/3 of theirs.
3 inches from this point, kind of arc.
Yes, there was an arc, and then halfway through the game, your reserves turned up in the space where you weren't effectively. Oh, that was not a good set of steamroller packs. That was, yes, radial deployment as well. Every PG hated.
Oh yeah, radial deployment.
Yeah, yeah. This is back when I actually managed to win a game of War Machine rolling only one die.
Didn't you do that the other week? We'll get
Does
to that
anyone
later.
remember the Ridge scenario?
Moving on.
Oh, that's a long time ago. Jesus. Ridge, you mean Ridgeway? Ridgeway?
Ridge Raiders.
Ridge Raiders.
Not quite Fridge Raiders, but close. But yes, so Steamforged have released the first shots of their first product that they're going to be bringing us, which is going to be a 2-player box of War Machine, a starter box. It's going to be Signar versus Cadre. It's going to feature a Warcaster, a character Warjack, and a character unit for each side.
Solo, I think, as well. Because it
solo?
lines up with what PP were talking about before. I think there's a solo as well.
Quite possibly. I mean, lots of details to come on this one, but we've only seen the Warcasters and the Warjacks so far. And, of course, create first, it's Kane 4?
Yeah, Kane.
Who's
Haley's dead by now, I guess.
I mean, Kane's not looking as old and grizzled as I expected, but then again, Magnus is looking a bit younger than I thought he would.
Kane was really young, though. He was a super young Warcaster.
That's true, and also his daughter is in the Gravediggers.
He looks older. Kane 3 looks older than Kane 4. That's the weird thing, but anyway. Yeah.
Clearly,
Isn't Kane 3 when he was like chasing someone down or something in the lore? So maybe he just hadn't
mercenary,
slept.
wasn't he? He's a mercenary as well, wasn't he?
He's been exiled from Signar, and he's got the last 2 of the Black 13th with him, and he was a character unit, and Merc players just looked at him and went, No.
We do know that.
Oh, hang on, he can take Ace. Oh, okay.
We do know that the box is going to be in hips plastic, and I was trying to remember what previously was molded in
But
that.
all of the starter sets moved over to hips plastic, didn't they? At one point.
No. What they moved over to was Restic.
Oh
Hips
yeah, it was
plastic
that
is
weird
more
red
high
stick.
commercial
Yeah.
plastic stuff, the stuff that Guild Ball was made from, and lots of board games are made from.
So I didn't
Pack.
actually. I played a little bit of Guild Ball at the very start when they were still using the white metal bits, but I never really followed through, so I don't know where Guild Ball went. But was
I don't
that
think we should get
plastic
into that.
successful?
The models are lovely. The plastic's successful.
Yeah.
The models are fantastic. Russ sculpted so many of them.
I
I
mean,
think really we should get him on to talk about it. But I think their models were fantastic. Really, really lovely.
What I would say is, for all the products that Steamforged produced Guild Ball wise, I never played the game, but they all looked great. They had like great impact on the shelf. You could see the miniatures inside. They all looked good, even as they were like, you know, without any work being done to them. It's always been a very well presented affair.
I totally agree. It was lovely.
So I really do hope that they can bring the same thing to it's just War Machine now because Hordes is sadly dead.
so is
also
it
talking the
completely
Mark
dead, or are the
IV thing.
factions getting merged into War Machine?
The Hordes factions are in War Machine. It's all one game now.
Okay.
The
So
Brian Blood's Trolls are a War Machine faction. They're not a Hordes faction.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like you used to have mercenaries and minions. Now you just have mercenaries.
It kind of makes sense to sort of streamline it. But...
And have the systems, the Fury and the Focus system, merged into one? Or
Nope. They're still in. So you still have Focus, Fury, Essence. I think it's just 3, isn't it?
I think so. I thought
Yeah.
it was something else. But yeah.
Focus, Fury, and Essence are still the 3, but you have different new terms. So where you had those whole long errata that said affects warlocks, warcasters, infernal masters, whatever the term for the Cognifex siphons of this world was, and about 15 other things. Now you have leaders. Where you used to have warjacks, warbeasts, horrors, whatever, you now have cohort models.
okay.
So it's tidied up a lot of stuff and made it a lot easier to understand, which is good.
Then
I was
that's-
just going to say, how different is Mark IV to Mark III to the uninitiated? Does it still play?
So you will play a game, and at the start of it you'll feel slightly confused because everything feels very slightly wrong, and at the end of it you'll go, "Oh, that was a game of War Machine." Is the simplest way I can describe Mark IV to you.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I really enjoyed it. It took some getting used to the subtle changes. They are subtle changes.
Yeah.
The unit movement is the single biggest one, which I know there's a lot of negativity around still floating around, but I really like it now. I got used to it. I played a bit of Legion as well. It's very similar to the Legion movement. If you ever played that,
The unit
really
movement.
it feels faster.
The unit movement does stop one of the old weird tactics where people would get effectively the biggest unit they could with the biggest command area they could and spread them out so that they had this like huge frontage of free strike range. Which, well, free strikes are gone for a start. But now it's you move forwards and you place the other models within 2 inches. That's it. You don't get command range, you don't get nothing, you just have this little bubble of people. That's it.
Yep.
From what you were explaining, there's a lot less models in the game in units in general. It's either a 3-man unit or a 5-man unit. There's no mass units that you'll be using.
But those units are a bit cheaper, so you might have more of them, arguably.
Yes, occasionally. Yeah, I mean, a lot of rebalancing's happened, sort of points wise.
If they do scale it down, that is definitely a win. Because
I mean, a lot of us got into War Machine and Hordes initially because of the idea of the commander plus the units, whether that's jacks or beasts, not for the infantry. The infantry was secondary. The idea was about this core, awesome big units, right? And they tried to then latch back onto that with the, I can't remember what the huge jacks were called.
Colossals.
Like the Stormjack, the Colossals, and the monstrosities. Is that what they were called for?
Gargantuan.
Gargantuans. That's it. They tried to bring that back, but by scaling down the infantry, I feel like they've just done that anyway.
Yeah. To an extent.
So is the
I think
model
Warjack's
count
stronger. I think.
Sorry, Alex. What are you saying?
I was going to say, is the model count roughly sort of the same? What are you sort of talking infantry to jacks wise of a typical force?
Well, what I could do with my fancy YouTube stuff that's going on now is press this button here. Haha. I can actually bring up effectively the new version of War Room. It's now just the War Machine app, and kind of look at a list that I've run this week. Well, this last week gone, which is the Warcaster, 4 Warjacks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solos, 3 units of 3, and a unit of 5. Which, that's sort of, 30, 35 models to a side.
Similar to before, really.
And so what sort of point level is that, and what is the standard sort of point level in the game now?
That's 100 points, and that's pretty much what we've settled on as like the standard point level of the game. So it's no longer the 50 points of Mark II, or the, was it 75 in Mark III?
75. Yeah, 75.
So there is still a movement. There is still some people playing 75. There are still 75 tournaments, especially in the US.
I'm actually going to a 75-point tournament at the end of the month.
There you go.
So for those who kind of are unaware, there's a thing called Longshanks out there. Longshanks.org, is it? Kurt?
Can't remember.
Bushido, I think, is the website.
I'm going to have to check this now. Longshanks.org. If you go there, select Mark IV, you can actually see tournaments. So the Warsaw War Masters Unlimited 75-point tournament is coming up at the end of this month. It is very reasonably priced, I think £10 for 3 games, and yeah, come along and have a game or two if you want. So
the other sort of
board in
thing...
Brum, by the way.
I have one question first, though, before you jump in, Benj.
That's fine.
Does Deathclock still exist?
Yes.
Yes. Go on, Benj.
Another sort of like misconception supposedly is that a lot of the stuff going into 4 was rendered obsolete, which was what turned supposedly a lot, or the misconception turned a lot of people sort of off. So could we actually go to a tournament, those that are, holding on to models from back in the day, or is it a completely new buy-in?
So that is a complicated question with several answers.
Okay.
The primary one is
start with the event you're about to go to. That's probably that's one answer.
Okay. So the event that I'm going to is what's called an unlimited tournament, which is the wacky, slightly unbalanced version of the game. It doesn't have as much patching effort put into it as Prime, which is a separate thing. But Unlimited basically says, all those old factions, all those old models, here are the stats, here are some points levels, have at. Do what you like. Like, you want to play, let's pick a random Menoth caster, Testament or Harbinger. Fill your boots.
Does that... So, I've noticed that there are lists that are like theme based as well, which do have sort of limitations on some of the models that you can take, especially because in the lore, like some factions are more battered than others, so there are some restrictions. But I mean, the other question is, how fun is it compared to Prime Unlimited? Is there a lot of difference between the rule sets, or?
I'll be honest, I have not played any Unlimited.
Okay.
I have only
Alright.
played Prime.
I played against unlimited lists in a kind of a friendly fashion where I wanted to practice the list that I wanted to run as a prime list. But the straight answer to your Benji is the new armies are all prime armies, and every previous faction has usually 2 different prime restricted lists. So a bit like we had themes before, but they are prime armies. So trolls have 2, Storm of the North and Krill Company, and they have like 3 or 4 casters in each one. So they act like limited factions. They all act. It makes the old factions act like 2 different kind of Crucible Guard, if you like, limited factions.
Right. Yeah.
So your previous armies, you could probably look at either one half or the other, and work out a list of models that you've already got and still play Prime.
That's and I noticed as well before the buy over from SFG buying the rights as well, that like they started making new colossals as well. So big bases are still in.
Yep. So more than that.
80 mil bases as well now.
Yes.
Oh.
So now above the 50 mil, you have the extra large bases.
I think so.
Yeah, extra large bases, which are 80 mil, which covers things like the Bison for Cadre, which is it's a small steam powered tank with 2 cannons. I mean, what more do you want? But every faction.
Patrols we have. And for trolls, we have an air balloon, which is which shoots cannons and moves around the board at a frightening rate, shooting 3 different cannons out in all directions.
And I take it obviously because you've been to a tournament. Did you have to buy in your stuff? Like, where were you sourcing? Because this is the other thing that SFG is going to hopefully like availability of products especially in our country.
So everything of mine, I pretty much been getting from just general web stores. If you are local to our area, you can also order directly through Board in Brum, I believe. They don't hold stock on shelves, but they will order from suppliers for you. Might take a while in some cases. Obviously.
Yeah, because the only bit I've seen of Mark IV earlier this year was in a board game cafe, and it seemed like one person was taking on the world and trying to organise sort of like a local Mark IV. They had about 2 or 3 models on the shelf to purchase there and then. Maybe I think one was like the Cadre, like new Warcaster, but it was sort of like slim pickings to try and like get people to, you know, like the display. There was no oomph about it. There was no.
So,
you know, it was very muted.
What I will say here is, actually, we need to go back to the SFG purchase here. Is that PP tried something at the start of Mark IV, which hasn't quite panned out as I think was intended, largely because economics of the world and all that. But effectively, at the start of Mark IV, what you would do is your base faction would just come in a box, and you would have a caster, one of your 2 kinds of jacks or beasts. You would have a support unit, a ranged unit, a melee unit. You'd have a selection of stuff, enough to field a small army and give you a playable small force in a box. What this did mean was your initial investment looks kind of high, and I think that's stopped some people from necessarily getting in. Now SFG have said there, and I think the announcements we've seen for Crix were influenced by SFG's stance, is they want to make smaller, more approachable boxes.
I think so. This was being talked about by PP some months ago as they were coming forward with Crix. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. And the fact that actually doing Crix might be part of the conversation too, mightn't it? They did say about fans convincing them, but
they'd already done Cadre and Signar, so doing Crix is not the biggest departure. But yes, we get it's not technically Crix, it's Crix Necrofactorium. But they do fit under the larger banner.
It looks pretty damn Crix.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the stuff that's come out, it's like, you've got thralls, okay, but you don't have
the Crix quacks the Crix.
Thank God they don't have the bile thrall. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, good lord.
I don't want to think about that thing with a 6-inch purge range, especially with no arcs anymore.
I
And you can
must
snipe. Oh, good god.
I must say that a lot of the designs that are coming out of the new teams, or the new PP, in Mark IV, they're really good. Like all the models look amazing. It's just
It's
apart
lovely
from
stuff. It's really, really lovely.
the jacks look really good. They look fantastic.
So I've had quite a journey with this acquisition a little bit, and so Ross Charles and I started chatting again. I don't know, 6 weeks ago, in earnest about trolls and about painting and looking at my painting that I posted on Instagram, which also come to towards the end. And he started painting trolls, and we just generally started chatting again. And one of the first questions I asked him last week, because I know he's been sculpting a lot of this, and in fact I know that the new models that are in the starter box, Russ sculpted. And I said to him, okay, so let's talk about quality of the new sculpts and the new models. I don't doubt your talents because I've seen your Guild Ball stuff. I said, but I've been so wowed by the 3D printed privateer breast stuff. How are you going to do that in Hips Plastic? How is that going to happen? And it was like the potential for Hips Plastic now is off the chain. You can go further than you can 3D printing. You can do smaller, thinner pieces that connect together, that's stronger and more reinforced than you could ever print in 3D resin. So I'm more optimistic hearing that.
Just to ask a question. So Hips Plastic, this is injection polystyrene, isn't it? So are we talking hard plastic GW, or are we talking more
I think LIGW is a good example, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, GW is the one comparison I've definitely heard.
So it's going to be a hard polystyrene plastic.
I don't know if Hips is always polystyrene. I don't know what the manufacturer of that is, if I'm honest. I think it's because I don't think. Is that what all the GW stuff's made of? I don't know. At this point, my science bit falls away.
I think GW stuff, they just say styrene. That's it. That's all the commentary they have on their materials, except for they do occasionally release metal and resin. No, Finecast is gone, I believe, but they do have a very crumbly resin, which I have the unfortunate ownership of at least one Sister of Battle in. It's resin that may as well be made of sawdust. It's bad. And quite frankly, for such a large company, they should feel ashamed of that model. But hey, that's the thing. But if they can get anywhere near GW's plastics, well, that's another conversation, because when GW do stuff in plastic, it's almost universally gorgeous at this point, and
the painting experience is just like Primaris Marines. They just feel so good, and they're quite like kind of basic in that you can get a good result because of the actual sculpts, because of the definition of the lines, the recesses, and because of the paint line. So with the contrast,
they definitely are now building for contrast. That is 100% the case, because we've never discussed contrast paints before, have we? I mean, did we stop broadcasting before those were a thing?
Yes.
I can't remember. I love contrast paints, to be honest.
Possibly.
I love painting, but I love contrast paints.
So contrast paints, for anyone who's been living under the same rock we were for the last 3 years, are a paint that effectively has it's a paint mixed with a wash and a strange polymer layer somewhere in there, and effectively
they vary. I think the mixtures vary very slightly, but yeah, that is very much the concept. They are self-shading, self-highlighting paint.
So we've just had some commentary from Rich Loxham in the chat. About, I believe, the plastic. Exactly that, Alex. Having seen the sprues, Russ and the team done wonders. There we go.
Awesome.
From Rich's mouth himself. So I have no doubt that Russ is going to produce fantastic things no matter what you give him. I think you give the man Play-Doh and he could come up with something that looked pretty damn good. So I
don't doubt that. I think literally he would. Yes.
Yeah. Frankly, I'm kind of excited for the eventual old Umbria that's allegedly coming to War Machine at some point. The faction that has no warjacks, and we don't know why yet.
Oh, there's some rumours though. Should we talk? We could segue into that later.
Yeah, we can go to that one.
Circle back to that.
Yes. Circle.
Nice. Unintentional. It wasn't where I was going either.
But yes, we had a conversational thread. I'm not sure where it is anymore. But yes, all in all, I think we can all
Future of the game. That's where we were going. Future of the game.
Future of the game. I think we can all agree it is an exciting time. It is slightly scary because it is something new and it is something different. War Machine will definitely be going to different directions.
I think it's for you and Kurt in particular as players who have continued to play, definitely. But I'm in a kind of a different boat, right? Because I wasn't a minis gamer before War Machine and Hordes.
That's true.
WoW Minis was probably the closest I got.
Yep.
Still number 2 in UK forever. And I came from a card game background, and actually in COVID I returned to that. I ended up moving into Pokemon and playing that competitively, so filling my space up instead of with minis back with cards, and then moving to Lorcana when that released, though both of them, unfortunately, due to my travel for my job now, just the competitive scene wasn't able to be there, so I moved away from both. And this is actually an exciting jump back in spot because we've got a history with Steamforged. Guild Ball was a really interesting, good game that I just didn't quite get into at the time it was released. But as you say, the sculpts were amazing. Some of the board games they've released since have been exciting prospects. Unfortunately, the ones I personally didn't get on with. But the fact that there actually is this combination initially, at the very least, of Privateer Press and Steamforged. You're getting some of the best pieces of Steamforged with the sculpts and things. You're going to have input from what previously were some of the top players of War Machine back in the day. Like you always used to see Jamie, Lox, and Matt up there in the standings. It's actually like is this a time to start coming back in? This is actually kind of a little bit tempting. It's not scary to me because it's a whole jump fresh back in, and I'm sure there's loads of War Machine players that dropped out in the same kind of era just before Infernals were released that might also be tempted because of those familiar names, in particular in the UK and US scenes.
I mean, you do certainly have a point. I mean, that actually is something we've not gone into so far. And obviously, most of the communication we've had coming from Steamforged has been in the form of, I think it's articles and AMAs on Reddit by Matt Hart.
I think that's a better approach, is Reddit, definitely, because there are a lot of diehard players still sort of on there, and it's been the communication so far that I've witnessed has been sort of good. I guess they can't sort of promise the earth, but I definitely think they need to kind of. I don't know if we go. A lot of the discussion is about the press gang or a version of to support local sort of like communities and growth and stuff like that. So
I think we're still in very early days for that. But yes, obviously that's a conversation that probably has to take place at some point.
That's a very difficult one based on why it went away and why it went away for everybody except Infinity. Infinity is the only sort of only organization that I'm aware of that still does that, and they do it on a very small scale, and it's very much on the DL. It's I think the issues that occurred with Wizards of the Coast and then Privateer pulling it as well. It'd be hard to go back on that. I think
it would be, but there needs to be something in a store, in a brick and I don't know. Well, I think like to sort of. I'm just thinking of my sort of local area, which is mostly just board game cafes now, and I just don't know how you'd sort of.
I think, Benj, a lot of time what you'd see is the more old school press gangers anyway are going to be the people who offer to run like demo games and demo days now. So, for instance,
or just turn up and play. Turning
What-
up and playing consistently, that pulls people in on its own fairly well. After a while, people are like, "What are you playing? What are you doing?" That's how our local community here is. It started up because 2 or 3 of us was turning up every week, and that grew.
yeah. What I would say, Benj, is, are you still, without wishing to dox you, roughly in the same area you were?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think if I was to start playing again, I'd probably head towards sort of London, or the Midlands. But I don't know whether it'd be sort of like big tournaments, like, or every now and then. If the game is easy enough to sort of break into and the model count is relatively small, then that's good for sort of travel, and it's good for, just picking up and playing. And that's something I'd like to. I mean,
what I would say, Benj, is just throw this out there, and just because I know the event's happening. So Oxford Gaming Club is actually running an open evening at the North Oxford Association Community Centre on Monday the 24th from 7 till 10:30.
Who's running it?
I don't know. But it's going to be a free event. They've said that there'll be freebies handing out, including custom 3D printed Oxford Gaming measuring gauges, and there'll be a free raffle for an Orgoth Sea Raiders Battle Box bundle.
Wow.
So anyone interested? That's North Oxford Association Community Centre, Diamond Place, Summertown, Oxford, OX2 7DP.
When is that?
That is on the Monday, the 24th of June, from 7 p.m. till 10:30.
Okay, where is that? Does this involve having to go on Facebook?
I've literally read you the entire thing that I have, Benj.
Okay.
Which is the address.
Where did that come from, though?
That actually came from the Welsh Masters Discord.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. See, that's the other thing as well. It will involve having to get involved with social media again.
So, what I can say, and partially because it's been advertised this evening as rising in member numbers, if you want to find a good central place for talking about War Machine at the moment, the Steamforged Discord has in fact got a War Machine section, and it seems like that's going to be a nice place to get people to congregate and talk about the game again. Just have a central hub that's not Facebook.
I mean, we if you think about 12 years ago when we all started doing this, was it a Warhammer forum that we kind of took over a section of?
TWF, yeah.
TWF, yeah.
Forum.
These communities will build themselves, and we are 12 years on at this point. You say obviously you need to get involved with the socials. It will depend where the community goes, and I imagine it's probably going to be Discord.
I bloody hope it's not Facebook. That's my only thing. I just don't want.
But too many people are shattered across all Twixer, Facebook, and Insta. You can't really do big groups on, so Discord's kind of become one of the defaults for that now, anyway.
Yeah, we do have this mix of, you have the War Machine Horde's like general group on Facebook, which is it's a big thing. You've got the UK group, which is smaller and obviously just related to the UK. You have the War Machine Discord, which I never really got into. It was just too much stuff on there. I couldn't deal with it.
I'll have a look at the Steamforged.
Yeah.
Since I'm here.
There is the slightly quiet War Machine Reddit, which it's quaint. I do like it, but it is it could do
it's got busier in the last week or so.
Yes, and I will say Matt Hart's AMAs. For anyone who's not read those, are War Machine on Reddit, and Matt Hart went through and he just answered question after question after question after question after question.
Yeah.
Admittedly, some of those answers were the ones you'd expect, which is, at the moment, we're looking at this, we haven't made any final decisions at this time, which, when you're a week into announcing something, is totally understandable, because you're still kind of, I mean, you've done your due diligence, you've taken stuff on board, but you can't do everything at once, and nor do you want to. You want to kind of keep a nice release cadence of information and product and everything like that.
They've not even got their feet under the desk yet, right?
No.
They literally have just announced this. And I mean, until you said it earlier, I hadn't realized there was this split where Privateer Press was still involved with some pieces of it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be all that kind of information. People will be asking questions about things that
we have
they
also,
aren't even involved in.
We have also seen some people move across, or at least one person move across from PP to Steamforged. I believe, is it Charles Foster? Charles Foster III?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, has moved from PP over to Steamforged. So yeah, it's a whole new relationship, and we're gonna have a lot of time basically shaking things out and seeing what happens. Although I will say we have seen the first things appearing today with the Steamforged logo on. So people have been receiving their Cadre Mastodons, the new Colossal, and the base.
Oh my god, that thing looks amazing.
It is huge! And the bases are Steamforged bases. So, or at least they have the SFG.
Interestingly, they've been 3D printed, haven't they? The bases were being 3D printed recently.
Yes, well, that's because, I mean, those original bases were bespoke PP ones. They had to because of the multiple arcs and stuff on there. And once they ran through the stock of those, well, you're just not printing another. You're not molding another God knows how many of them. So at least to fill in the gap, if not permanently, 3D printing will do bases pretty happily all the time. But yes, Benj, the Cadre Colossal it's bigger than the last one. It's absolutely absurd.
It looks better than Conquest. It looks better than Victor. It just looks Cadre, if that makes looks even more Cadre.
The fact that it is fully modular, like the Jacks as well, is just it's a whole thing.
It makes the Abyssal King even more magnetized little cannons and stuff.
Is the Abyssal King the Troll King 2.0?
It's a giant octopus on a ship, holding bits of the ship, shooting cannons, and
Remember when the Sea King first came about, right? It feels like a similarly hype thing.
So it's so big it overlaps the edge of a 120mm base from the artwork and the pictures.
Oh, I have. Sorry, to go back to an earlier point. I have a wonderful thing that kind of goes with that. Not more casual, but like maybe less. I don't know quite how to put this. Where we're saying, it's less of a win at all costs attitude, and this is so good to see. I believe it was Jamie P in his battle reports was talking about how he created his army lists, and he basically said, having Jacks might have been better, but I couldn't make an army list without a Mastodon. That was just like, yeah, I know this is technically better, but I want the big thing. I just thought that was so nice to see.
I do feel like that is a really good sort of moniker for Mark IV. It is just, I'm finding it fun. I'm really enjoying playing it. I'm really enjoying getting models out, painting them, and getting them on the table and just enjoying it. I've built a boat for my troll pirates to play to the Lords off of.
If anyone hasn't seen this, Kurt deploying his entire army on a ship that just rolls up to the table. And just has pirates jumping off it for the first turn or so. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Did he make sound effects for it? Did he have like a soundboard?
I did not, no.
Oh,
no, I didn't. I did physically build Also, I built it 7 inches wide for the smallest deployment zone back over Christmas. What was the last time they changed the deployment zone width? Like 2013 maybe, something like that. Yeah, they did it in January, didn't they? Tried to cut an inch off the back of it, and everybody's like, and a few people were like, "That's it's not symmetrical. You made a mess there." I was like, "I know, but this is why." So I was like, "I could cut a bit off each side, or I just cut the back off of it and start again."
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But yes, it's tremendously silly, but it really, really works. Especially for your.
That's one thing to do. I was thinking today, what can I build for Chimera? I've got no idea.
Oh, Probably
Chimera.
Not the Legion.
Okay, because
are-
this is another
are
thing about jumping
tribal-
back in, right? I know Mark II lore reasonably, but everything's changed. The factions are completely different. The characters are
Lots of the same.
relatively
But
different.
So,
But even those that are the same aren't the same, right? Cadre aren't. Their motives are completely different.
they're very similar.
So what,
Yeah.
what I should probably quickly do then for you is go through all the factions that are Mark IV exclusive, and I say that with large quotes.
As a prime, they're prime factions.
Yeah, there's more than this, but yes, effectively the prime factions. So at the moment you have coming out soon is Crix Necrofactorium, which you've seen Crix, right? They're Crix.
Of course.
They're
But they're not led by Gatsby and Co anymore.
No, don't know. Would have to read more. Kurt, do you know?
I do not. No, they have some casters that look very like Gatsby.
I have actually just subscribed to the app and started reading the fluff, and it's actually quite good.
It's very good. To be honest, it's very good.
But I've only read the Cadre stuff so far. So then you have Signar Storm Legion.
Are Signar still the
basically
beaten
Signar.
down version of Signar, or are they back?
No, they're more armored than they used to be. They've got some heavy infantry. They've got some stuff that you would have sold your bum for previously.
Signar just full of medium bases. Just what is going on?
But that's Cadre.
No.
Really not Cadre.
Cadre went to large bases.
Everything's scaled up. I see.
So Signar, all their warjacks are now the Arcantric ones, so they don't have steam anymore. It's all turbines.
Does that mean Rowdy's dead?
I don't know if Rowdy's dead, but he's probably in a cupboard.
So.
He's probably in a cupboard somewhere.
Poor Rowdy.
Yeah, you have all your. Now let me get this right. You've got your Storm Throwers, Storm Guards, Storm Blades.
Yep.
Does it have Storm in the name? Yes. Congratulations, it's here.
Storm Strider.
No.
My first prime army was Storm Legion. I've got a Storm Legion army. I took it to the Welsh last year. Came third from bottom. Didn't do very well, but it's fun.
Mine too.
I enjoyed it. It feels like Space Marines when you paint it. It really does.
Yeah, I think they're kind of a hard faction to play, but yeah. So there's Signar Storm Legion. What's the next prime faction? Oh God, House Callus. I've not faced these yet. So
Are they Retribution?
House
It's
Callus.
the remnants of Ios.
They're more commonly known as Dusk.
What happened? Because there was that whole in the fluff at the time. They were dragging the corpse of something into Ios, and it was all going to go to shit. So I assume it went to shit.
So kind of
all their gods died.
Elven, vampiric, undead kind of elves. Yeah.
Yeah, they all lost their souls through some sort of like giant vacuum cleaner, and their gods just fell over.
Yeah. It's the remnants of.
But having said this, sorry, I was just going to say, is there like a consolidated lore page, or is there a book? Is there?
There's an app.
Yeah,
there's an app.
It's all in the app. It's
all
in the app. It's all in the Army Builder app.
Okay.
So if you go to the War Machine app, which is available on Android, iPhone, PC, and Mac, then the bottom option is Library. And in fact, I can actually bring this up on screen. Look at this. Technology. And what you will find is that you have a whole load of stuff. So you have under fiction, you've got stuff like Brine Blood and Bilgewater, Dark Rising, Dead on Arrival, Dragonfall. You've got a whole load of fluff and lore. There's a whole compendium of lore. It's like you want to know.
Some of it's free.
Yes.
And some of it's only with subscription. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to know about the Annihilator Cadre from Cadre, there is a whole little compendium on them, which I'm not going to go into because I don't know if it's paid for, and I'm not going to put that on stream because I'm not an idiot.
Well done.
If you're still there, Lox, and you're listening to this, here's your free $1 million marketing idea. For those like me that haven't really seen this since Mark II, a one-page, big hits of what happened to the factions in the time skip. Easy way for us to jump back in.
Who's
and then
dead?
if we want to explore further, who died? What happened to Ios in a very quick version? What happened to Signar? All of the different shatterings and reformings of new empires in a very quick single pager. I would read that, and it would let me jump straight back in, right? And then I would also be like, hang on, I remember these guys, so actually I'm going to pick up this faction because it's related to what I used to love.
I would say that's going to happen anyway, because, well, what happened is split between, like, the Henchhold Scrolls, the PP Twitter account, then there's a site that is allegedly dead, so all that's been lost. In the chat, smiley face from Rich Loxham. There we go.
Yay! They probably already thought of it.
I believe that's a comment on the strong lore of War Machine and how it could be either, used to leverage against the game and, bring it forward, or possibly monetized. I don't know.
I'd still like to return to an era of hardback books and big.
A lot of people have said that, but I think it's financially not less viable, isn't it now?
I mean, I also don't think I would want to, right? I was at UK Games Expo because I'm going to be running a D&D campaign soon, and I was looking for the core books just because I actually realised I don't own the physical copies of the core books, and it was nearly impossible to find them. And then when I managed to find them and get them home, I'm actually like, you know what? I don't actually have anywhere to put these.
I mean, I do miss the thing that I missed the most about those sort of things was the launch of a new book, the launch of a new cycle, the hype, as it were, going into those kind of things. That's the thing I miss. I know that physical media is quite hard to produce, but there was something.
The sort of excitement of not knowing what's coming in the book was always quite good.
Digital kind of killed that, but it made it more accessible, I guess. So.
I did enjoy those books as companion books and the fluff and then different multi-factional kind of. Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
Forces of War Machine did for many years have a place just opposite the toilet for light reading, I will say, because one unit or one solo's worth of description was just about the perfect timing. But we'll move on from that one. So yes.
You were going through factions, Signar, and then you did quick Signar.
Yes. Prime Mark 4. So we've done Dusk. Then we have the Cadre Winter Corps. Which, oh boy, having read up on the description of how that all came out, that was interesting.
Have we still got a queen? Or...
an Empress, Ein Vannar, please.
Sorry.
So the Empire fell apart. It just fell into little pieces. All the individual Winter Guard units kind of went, well, hang on, we're local units, why don't we just represent the local lord? And Ein Vannar went, oh, so you're all going out for yourselves now, are you? Interesting. Well, funny you should have those 200-year-old warjacks and your troops that have been basically vaguely loyal for the last, I don't know, couple of centuries. Here's my new corps I've been developing in the background that I'm going to absolutely crush you with. Okay, now that there's no resistance to me just being me, we're going to dissolve the Grey Lords, we're going to dissolve the Winter Guard, we're going to dissolve the Iron Fangs, we're going to dissolve the Man of War Corps, and you're all going to be one nice army together. Well, except for the Man of War, you can go in the Annihilator Cadre, but that's a separate thing.
So she had a revolution.
Yes. It's kind of like the Russian Revolution happened, but the other way round. The Kyazi, all gone. Like literally scoured the entire faction of stuff. The Widowmakers all gone as well. They are now
all
just
the Golden Lords, all the magic gone as well.
Yeah, but that's the Grey Lords Covenant. Because they were all involved with the Infernals. Allegedly, Princess Gravnoy is still around somewhere, which I'm surprised by, given her involvement with the Infernals. But yeah. So while we do have a new version of not quite Zakova, she's just a Winter Corps caster. Yeah, so the Winter Corps, it is so far so Cadre, although we must say that, Irusk is dead.
So part of the Infernals thing was like a payback for humanity and magic, wasn't it? Or was that something else?
Yes. So the
Yeah, that
whole
was that.
the whole
Yeah.
background the whole background of the Iron Kingdoms is that at one point the Orgoth came across the sea, they subjugated humanity, and humanity was like, we can't really do anything about this. And so the Infernals came along and went, so you're trapped and that's a problem. We can give you magic. However, at some point in the future, we'll need a favour. All these souls. But it won't be in your lifetime or for several hundred lifetimes yet. It's probably fine. And humanity took the deal.
So do we have magic still in, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right, okay. And, okay, I'm sure there's a reason
magic
for
is,
that.
well, the gift of magic had been given. It's not something that they could just withdraw because it's out there and people know how to use it.
Well, I think that's what we're missing, actually, and probably what was the actual conclusion of the Infernal, apart from it all going to shit?
So the-
Gate exploding and stuff.
Yeah, there's a whole boatloads of people went through a gate to another world, effectively the Cirrus cluster or whatever it was.
Oh, the future. It was the future as well, wasn't it? It was.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no, because they go through there and then it takes time to get to Warcaster Neo Mechanica. That's several centuries later.
Yeah, but it's not. I wasn't saying they're jumping to that, but there was a time. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I got bored a bit about them.
There's a whole thing where so a load of the Protectorate went through the gate. Sorcerers.
Did as well.
I can't remember if it's son or daughter.
I remember the Saren stuff because Chimera picks it up, so I've been reading that around just to pick up the Chimera stuff.
Yeah, but Sorcerer's child goes through the gate as well. Just before Vlad dies. Yeah, and then the gate is destroyed so no one can get there. The Infernals are kind of put on their heels effectively, and are still around, but basically shattered and broken and not the force they once were. Menoth kind of toddled off to the deep south to Zoo to live with the frogmen. Yep. So Menoth on dinosaurs upcoming.
And I was going to say, and apparently ride dinosaurs. That's what people keep talking about.
Yes. Oh, you want to bring Severius back on a T-Rex? Go for it. I know Severius is dead, but that's not stopped Harbinger.
So
but is he?
We have wanted Exodite Eldar riding dinosaurs for 30 years. It hasn't happened in 30 years there. I don't think it's going to happen here.
Yeah. What else was the fallout from that? Lael got most of its lands back, but bits of Umbrae stayed with what effectively is Vlad's kingdom.
Isn't it Tristan that's leading POM in Zoo?
Yes. Tristan Durant is still the leader of the Protectorate. Elsewhere.
Durant.
Yes, Durant. Yes.
Moving on with faction.
Moving on with faction. Next up is Chimera or Chimera.
The Chimera, I'm now is my new army.
Shadowflame
Chimera
Shard.
is specifically the Shadowflame Shard is Rias and Seren. Seren went through the gate, but that Orthanc was left behind. Rias picked it up, was inspired by her sister, and started her own army basically by shredding and reforming. What they're called, the grunts and the oh my god, brain's gone on the names now. A whole lot of other creatures, and to building an army out of their flesh and bones and steel and stuff. Which is basically a dragon cyborg type army, which I'm loving at the moment.
Yeah, they have a lot of stupidly tasty stuff. I played
you get it in your hand, and it's so good.
Oh, I played against their cavalry the other day, and I just wanted to hurt myself by the end of it because they are so hard to shift.
Yeah.
Like it's like okay, they're 10 boxes. Oh, and they're battle driven as well. Okay. Oh, and they're
and I can give them.
They're steady as well. Oh, okay. And range 2 melee weapons. Oh, okay. And they're chain weapons. Oh, okay. That's. Oh boy, and they're the same points cost as my suppressors.
And you're telling me this is a glass cannon army? I see.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah.
By the way, there's speed 7 and mat 7. Okay. Like, there's a lot to unpack there, and they are good, solid units. They've also got he says, scrolling down the list, I'm trying to find that. The talent.
They've got very snaky serpentine kind of dragony war beasts.
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
The Wyvern. Just death. The Wyvern is their that's their 80 war beast. It's got 5 base attacks before it spends any fury. Oh, and did I mention that just not as an animus, but built in, it's got warping winds. So any model within 3 inches of it, if it gets attacked by range, the attack's at -3 range. Also, it gives a 3-inch range of resistance blast.
Lovely.
Ah!
I know the war beasts have have heads that are swappable magnetized. So you've got a Hydra that has 3 heads, or the character version has 5 heads, and yeah, it's very, very cool. Enjoying it a lot.
Chimera,
frightening threat ranges,
very powerful. Just they're good. Next up, you have the faction that no one ever saw coming, even though they asked for it multiple times, is the Orgoth Sea Raiders. I faced them a lot at the start, but not since, because the Orgoth player's gone infernal. I
find them somewhere between Scorn and Crix, kind of.
Yes. I'd put them there, except they have one very good ranged leader.
Harpoony, yeah.
Which is let me see if I can find the feat.
And they've got an 80 mil war beast, which is an 80 mil warjack beast thing, which is ridiculous. It's very cool. It's very sturdy, very resilient, very hurty army.
Orgoth are like the ogre-y type things, right?
They're the people from across the sea that conquered the whole land. Yeah. Some of their stuff's like ogres, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Orgoth originally in the original fiction was a mix of Ogren, trolls, humans, and the actual Orgoth themselves. But they are far. I mean, this is meant to be like a couple of thousand. Well, it's a long.
1,000.
Yeah, it's a long time after.
600. It's 600, isn't it? Because
yes,
it's 600 something. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It's about 600 years. So they've changed a lot in that time. They're no longer like, haha, Doom Reaver blades for everyone. No, that's not a thing.
Okay.
But yes, so the one that killed me more often than not was Kishtar, the Howling Silence, who has as her spells open fire, so like the extra shot on one of her cohort models. Fire group, so +2 range on all of her battle group.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. Now witness this feat. While on the control range, models in her battle group gain reposition. Additionally, while on the control range, models in her battle group gain additional die on attack and damage rolls.
Hi, Haley. I see you've changed factions.
Discard the lowest die in each roll.
Oh no, that's not Haley. That's Ashlyn.
No,
it's attack and damage though. That's the key part. Yeah,
it's creep Ashlyn.
And then
it's a lot of range, but it's also predominantly a melee faction as well. On top of that, it's frightening at times.
Yes, I was gonna say, but then you include the fact that they can have some fairly powerful ranged options.
Yeah.
Because they have the one head that ignores cover. That's it. Hunter. This model ignores concealment and cover when making ranged attacks. So you've got that head, which is 1 point off the cheapest one. That's nice. Then you include.
We've kind of skipped around that a little bit. That all the warjacks and warbeasts are all modular and all have magnetizable either heads or weapons or arms or bits and things on their backs or and that's across all the new factions, which is amazing because you buy like 3 heavies, and that's every heavy you're ever going to need.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's the
That's
fact
awesome.
that I can go from my direwolves being, oh, it's a bombard and a chainsaw, to in my other list, they'll have plow shields and maces.
So it's what we were starting to do towards the end of, well, mid Mark 3 onwards. We were starting to magnetize, especially my Crucible Guard, magnetize things to make them swappable, but it's by design now. So yeah,
Yeah, they actually have magnet slots in the models, which I will I will say now, some of those are just gonna make you swear when you try and glue them in. They really will.
so do you know the worst bit for me was the balloon, the troll balloon,
Yeah.
where it doesn't come with magnets to put in it, but it has the slots, except they're right next to each other to give you kind of a triangulation to hold the balloon onto the base. And
Yep.
and if you don't hold it, obviously with something wooden, not metal, because you're magnetized, but something else that you can hold it with, if you don't hold it long enough, it just hops over on top of the one next to it, and you're just then swearing at it quietly.
Yeah. Oh, and like, piece of advice for anyone magnetizing any Jaxal Beasts or the new Colossals: when you get your pack of magnets, put them in a pile, and then just put paint on the same side and everyone, so you know which is north and south on that magnet, because it will save you so much time when you are trying to glue the things in.
I have seen that as a tip. I quite like just coming up with a process. So do the same thing for every single. So you could, in theory, stick the hands for my trolls onto my Signar Jacks, because I started off a certain way and I've kept doing it that way.
Yeah.
And I've just kept using the same. It doesn't matter if I grab a hand from anywhere. I'm just consistent on making sure, like north and south, whatever you want to call it, is the same way on everything.
I've done exactly the same thing. So all my Cadre Jacks are interchangeable with my Signar Jacks for arm wise. You could even stick the heads on the arms if you wanted to. Basically, the body is
There's only
always
few
the same.
exceptions. Things like this, the spine bits on the heavy trolls, because the point in the back and the point inside the head are so close. I did reverse it to make sure they would actually, because it kept pushing the magnet out when I was trying to glue it in. So there are a few things I've reversed deliberately, but deliberately by design, they're a minority.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Now, one thing we don't know is if that magnetic stuff is going to continue. If it doesn't, I mean, it's HIPS plastic, so it's easy enough to grab a decent sized drill and magnetize an arm. That's not a problem.
No, you just break it. You just snap it off and glue it back on before the game.
Somewhere deep in my soul bench, you have hurt me.
What's a magnet? Sorry, I've never magnetized a model.
What's a
life,
magnet?
So.
It's something that. Okay, I worked out the other day. I've ordered something like 2,000 magnets since I swapped over how I do my cases for wargaming. So.
Oh yeah, you were used to magnetize the cases so you could just stick the magnets from the base on. I remember that.
We're all doing it now. It's almost more people doing it than foam at the Welsh. It was silly.
Well, it just means that when I now go down to club on a Thursday, I can pick up a 4-litre really useful box, and that's all the models I need to play a game with. That's 100 points worth of models. And a 4-litre really useful box, I mean, the footprint of it is slightly larger than a piece of A4 paper, and it's about, what, 1.5 inches deep? 2 inches?
I mean, yeah, as someone, when we played, I didn't used to drive, right? So I used to have to carry everything. I had to have some of those old the paper cases that then went into the backpack so that I could keep, and then I'd have to have an extra case around my shoulder, like a shoulder carry, to be able to fit all the models that I wanted to take to club every week.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not in that space anymore. I can drive now, so I can just stick it in the boot of the car and go wherever. But the like that just being for players that do use public transport and stuff is probably a pretty cool jump in.
So for people unaware of what we're talking about, I will put this in the show notes if I remember. I will obviously forget. There is an excellent video by Duncan Rhodes on YouTube telling you how to make magnetic cases and how to magnetize your models. It even goes through, here are the boxes you should get, which are 4 and 9 litre really useful boxes mainly, if you just want a nice, easily handleable size.
Unless you're me and you're using a nice IKEA plastic box, but obviously that's more me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, other box providers are available. If you're going to buy really useful boxes, I can also recommend Ryman, the stationers, because they do some very cheap deals on multiple boxes. And for myself as well, I do use their 20 litre and 33 litre ones as just the standards. Like, I have a stack of them 8 feet high outside of the door of this room, which is my archive of, like, the bottom 2 are board games, and then on top it's like that's Sisters of Battle, that's Space Marines, that's War Machine.
I admire your consistency.
Once I find a system and it works, it got to the point where so does anyone remember the weight of the old Space Marine metal dreadnoughts, the lead ones?
Oh yeah.
I have one of those that's magnetized to the
Jesus.
point to the point where someone saw it and said,
they even stay on, the arms stay on.
Oh no, it's not the arms, the base is magnetized to the case.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant the arms. I thought you magnetized the arms on.
So
Jesus.
How big is that magnet?
The magnet. In fact, I can pick one up from here. The magnet is about an inch across, and there's 3 of them under the base.
So are you using ferrous sheets, or like the ferrous sort of flexible sheets, or are you using like sheet steel?
I use ferrous rubber sheets, so it is very important that you get it right, and this is mentioned, I believe, in the Duncan Rhodes video. What you want is not magnetic sheet.
No.
It is magnetic receptive sheet.
I learned that.
And the producers are very clearly, they clearly mark as to what each one is. If you run across something like Warmag, who do produce ones that are the exact size of the cases, they're a little more expensive, and I probably wouldn't buy them.
And they were Expo. I saw that at Expo.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy a product that just does the thing, buy Warmag by all means. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money.
But you can buy a 0 sheet of ferrous rubber sheet, which is very, very cheap, and buy magnets. It's much better.
And buy a Stanley knife. You know, it's as long as you have somewhere appropriate to cut it, because you are going to need to cut it in straight edges. And also, probably buy a safety ruler, just saying, if you want to keep all your fingers. I mean, Kurt's an exception. He's a madman. He'll just, whip out a scalpel and...
Also, scissors. Scissors also work for some of these things, but yes.
Yeah, but they're wonky. I don't like cutting them with scissors.
Right.
Anyway. But yes, I have a magnetic Space Marine lead dreadnought, and someone said, aren't you scared of it like breaking all your other models? At which point I turned the case upside down and shook it. And the look on their face was truly one I will remember for the rest of my life. As just the horror dawned of just seeing this entire Space Marine battle force, a case being shaken. Like, it's fine. They are not moving anywhere. Like, unless the super glue that is attaching that rubber steel sheet to the bottom physically separates, and you can tell when it's going to do that, nothing's going to happen. Or if you've not put enough magnets on, and you know how many magnets to put on. Like, your average, like, 25, 30 mil model in plastic will need 1 magnet. When you're up to 40 and 50 mil, you'll need 2. 50 mil, you're edging towards 3. And then I would say for 80 mil, I use 3 of a slightly larger size magnet. So, but yes, everything is magnetized.
When do we get to all factions? Do we get 1 left?
I believe we do. The one we have left is something. Oh yes, Kurt, of course. It appears to be some albino trolls.
So
It's not albino. They're slightly yellow.
Never eat yellow snow.
Why are they slightly yellow?
I don't know because it was a paint scheme I came up with. I started
Yeah.
I started with yellow and highlighted it up towards cream.
Kurt's beloved trolls have all been replaced by pirates, and they are truly some of the most wonderful and insane models I think I've ever. I mean, Kurt's was the first time I faced them, but having now seen a guy painting them up at the club, and like getting a good look at those models up close, like there's some really good stuff in there. Like, yeah, I mean, Admiral Boomhowler for a start. Just okay, that's fine. Kurt's stupid, great old.
Boomhowler's sister is the admiral of the pirate fleet, and there's other captains. There's a gun mage captain. There's an ex-Crix guy called Shadowtongue captain. There's a land shark riding lunatic called Ragemonger. He's fantastic. I love him.
And these are all trolls. There's no like human troll cross with the pirates and Crix. It's literally just all trolls.
Just all trolls. A lot of pigs. There's a lot of pigs. Trolls. Full blood. Deep-born trolls.
So you can take some mercenary models with your trolls. So you can take a human. You can take Magnus the Unstoppable.
You could take a
Magnus
as well.
is still around.
Oh, so okay. Given that the games are now 100 points, how many points do you think Magnus as a solo is?
12.
20.
Wait a minute, it's a trick. With his mate.
Yeah, Magnus is 20,
there's two of them.
20 points. Magnus comes with Invictus, who is an 80 mil warjack.
Okay.
Carver is also 20 points because he comes with.
He's not a warcaster anymore.
He's a junior. He got beaten up in the fluff. It's awesome. The fluff's awesome on their fight. It's great.
I mean, they are both still like Arcane 5. Magnus is Control 12, Carver's Control 10, so they're still kind of nearly Warlock and Warcaster level, but just a bit less.
They're awesome.
Both
of them are.
Playing with Magnus and just sending Invictus out to do stuff. It's great. Because you send him in and he's got, the old ball and chain mangler warjack? Yeah. So, now that arcs are gone, would you say a Thresher on a 2-inch weapon would be pretty good?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
What if I told you it was a Thresher on a 3-inch weapon?
pretty good.
What if I told you it had critical knockdown?
Yeah, I like it.
What if I told you it was base mat 7?
Assuming defenses are still where they were before. Yeah, pretty good.
Oh no, defenses are lower.
Oh, even better. I don't need a 5 on 2 dice.
Mark 3 had the great defense and squishioning, so everything kind of lost a point of death. And
okay, well, so like it's your heavies are like 11 rather than 12 now and stuff. Like your base infantry.
A lot of 12. Some and some.
I mean, K-Doors are 10-11.
Okay.
Signals are 12.
So if that's the last faction, what happened to Circle?
We don't know.
So there is still a Circle card that's available.
Is it a mercenary / what used to be a minion, but it's not a mercenary?
He is a mercenary, and it is Kruger.
Oh, interesting.
Who's gone a bit.
I mean, he was already going a bit off it.
He's gone a bit Legion-y.
Okay.
So Kruger is now Kruger Wrath of Blightergast.
So he embraced the blight.
He is. He's got 8 hit points. Oh god, this collection of rules. So he always has concealment. While within 5 inches of him, other living models gain +1 to the melee attack, but suffer -1 arm. He regenerates D3 hit points a turn. If he's hit by a melee attack and survives, he sets the other person on fire. At the beginning of each attack, he can suffer D3 damage for all hit and damage rolls to be boosted.
Okay. This seems cool.
So
it's basically but we don't know what happened to Circle as a faction.
No.
They've just so they might make a return if they decide there's demand for it or whatever the powers that be do.
I think it'll appear in a different form if it appears.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What about Scorn?
Scorn have a solo who's doing the rounds as well.
Did they get beaten back behind the wall, or
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Scorn, but I know they've got.
We don't know the detail. We know there's a level of infighting, and the kind of empire kind of collapsed, and beyond that, we don't know properly. Or I don't know. I haven't read anything beyond that. There's probably more detail there.
That kind of feels very Scorny to happen, doesn't it?
And then the limited factions. So Cirrus created this gate. Was that kind of just the end of them?
I think Cirrus have kind of gone through it. Although bits of them are more accepted in Signar now. So you've kind of got.
Well, there was that whole merger, wasn't there? Because of
Nemo was doing stuff with them, right?
You've got Nemo's replacement, the dwarf.
Nemo the dwarf.
There's also on the Cirrus front. On the Cirrus front, there's a level of Cirrus influencing Chimera, and the other Chimera army may have more to do with Cirrus, perhaps.
Okay.
There we go. Mechanic Adept Sparkhammer is the sort of Nemo-ish.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, now I've said it. You know what I mean.
And then Crucible Guard.
They're still around. They're a limited faction. They're fully available as a limited faction, but every faction is limited in a way now. They have an army.
They're not a prime faction. They're an unlimited faction.
Their whole army is in a prime faction because they were limited anyway. So there isn't much you can't field I could think of.
Okay. What were the other ones? You mentioned Infernals. You said that your Orgoth players moved over to Infernals. Does that mean Infernals are still around in the same kind of capacity?
Infernals around, but I believe they are kind of slightly broken as a faction because there's kind of, as far as I'm aware, there's like
broken in a good way, do you? They mean broken as in very good.
Kind of both. I think there's meant to be like two sides to Infernals. The Infernals that came here, and then the other Infernals, and there's some kind of infighting going on. I don't really pretend to know too much of that. I haven't read that far.
And then there was that Fantasy Nightmare faction. I can't remember the name of them.
Oh, the Grimkin.
Grimkin, that was it. Yeah.
Well, this is a good segue. So Grimkin was a limited faction, so they're still very much around as a playable faction. There were several people playing at the Welsh. I think the most interesting thing about the potential for Umbrae is it may have a little Grimkin influence in Umbrae.
And what's Umbrae? Sorry.
It's part of Cadre, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Umbrae, if you look at Eastern Cadre, southeastern Cadre, and northwestern Lael, that is Old Umbria, Umbrae. It's had multiple names. It's the kind of the home of the Horse Lords. Vlad's domain, effectively.
They don't exist anymore then. Because didn't the sort of like Iron Fang Kovniks come from there? And,
so the Iron Fang... The Iron Fangs have been dissolved. However, they do have successors inside the Winter Corps.
Oh.
So where you would have had Iron Fangs, you now have Shock Troopers. You have the Shock Trooper Gunners with their Spray 8 Pow 13 both barrels.
But not Shock Troopers in the sense of like old Stormtroopers which used to have the gas masks and the...
No, that's Assault Commandos, Benj.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the Assault Commandos have been quietly put in a corner and retired.
They were awful models.
Yes.
No matter what, like...
They were.
Out of all the metal models, they were just awful. You couldn't make them look good.
And they were also a bad unit.
Yes.
They never had a place, is their problem. Because anything you wanted to do with them, it was like, well, okay, I want something that's marginally high armor that can achieve stuff. Oh, I'll take Black Dragon Iron Fangs instead. Okay, I want something that's got a bit of range and has some kind of useful tactical place in the battlefield. Oh, I'll take the Winter Guard instead. They were neither here nor there, and they didn't really do anything very well.
No.
Except for having a flamethrower. Like, ooh, sprays in Cadre. Like, I don't care. I'll just have Joe and tell him to, shout at people to make them hit better.
I'll just have lots of rockets.
Yeah. Oh, we don't talk about Cadre rockets now. They're
The
kind
Death Star.
No, the Cadre rockets now are kind of sad.
Oh, okay.
No, now you take the Cadre autocannon, which has volume fire. Or you take the grenades, which are ridiculous too.
The new sort of out of actually all of the concept stuff for the Cadre, the new Mana War kind of esque things look a bit janky, but apart from that, everything else looks.
I'm loving the suppressors. So they are the twin chain gun ones. They were my first painted Cadre models.
I like your paint job. I like your colour scheme. It's very cool.
I'm actually painting them in like proper olive drab, effectively Russian colours. But I do put the blue and the yellow on them rather than the red because various reasons, which I'm not going to go into.
Indeed.
Yes, and I'm actually do have spoilers for later. A bison on the painting table at the moment, which is almost finished.
Do we have a Soviet music overlay anthem?
No,
for that
no, we don't, Ben.
Oh,
again, for very obvious reasons.
That's the Soviet Union. It's
God,
completely
mate.
different. It's completely different.
Wow.
Do we have to move into like Ben gets a history lesson?
I've had a history lesson.
What was that? What was that old phrase that you used to use quite a lot, Mike? Was it something along the lines of
moving on? Yeah.
Moving on.
I think that might be greatly needed about now.
I'm jumping back rather than moving on.
Okay.
So we obviously went through all those factions.
Yeah.
But some of them are prime, some of them aren't. But then you said people were playing the non-prime factions in a tournament. So where's the line drawn as a player that's obviously like I've got every Cirrus model that existed until 2018 or something like that. Does that mean I can effectively jump in with a Cirrus army in a prime tournament?
Yeah. So, sadly, you can't see because you're not on the stream. But if I actually broadcast the app at this point, what you have when you go to build a force is it asks you which arena will you be fighting in. Create. Which arena will you be fighting in, prime or unlimited? So unlimited, obviously, unlimited is just the entire faction all at once.
Unlimited is where I could bring back and I could play Haley 1, 2, and 3, play Kane 2, play all those good old Signar hits that I used to love.
But
what I understand though is you can't mix prime models with unlimited.
We're getting to this. We're getting to this.
Sorry. Okay.
So again, unlimited, yes, is everything, but the new factions are separate. You can play them in the unlimited arena, but the new factions stay with.
Yeah, so if I was playing Signar, I would be playing Signar as Signar. I wouldn't be playing the Storm Legion that is now the MK4 Prime.
Or if you
army.
chose to play Storm Legion, you could play all your Storm Legion stuff, but you couldn't take Signar in that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the difference there. So the Storm Legion is the faction rather than Signar being the faction.
But if you're playing in a prime tournament, which is obviously the most common way to play at this point, and you choose to build a prime army, the first choice you get is, are you building a Mark IV army, or are you building a Legacy army? Then they can both play in prime tournaments. They play in prime tournaments against each other, and that's totally fine. But if you select the Legacy one, what you are then confronted with is the old factions. So if we scroll down the list to, say, Signar, you have a choice of First Army or Storm Knights. So if I just select 100.1 there, and then you select First Army, well then your choices of cast are Darius, Cray, Siege, the Rocket Turret Siege 2, I think.
I think so.
Hammer Boy.
Yeah, and then Lieutenant Kane.
Okay.
You do have access to Ace Centurion, Charger Cyclone, yada yada, so on and so forth. A lot of that stuff. You've got access to solos, including the Squire.
Darius.
Bring back the Squire.
It's like-
They just built that effectively into the new Storm Legion, I assume, considering it was a Storm piece of equipment.
Well, funny you should say that. So one of the major changes they actually made to Warcasters, and anyone looking on the stream will be able to see here as well, is that a lot of the stuff that was based around focus has been split out. So
Okay.
what was focus is now 3 different statistics. First of all, you have arcane attack, which functions like mat or wrap. If you're making attack with magic, you use arcane attack. You have your arcane stat, which is how much focus or fury you can handle.
Yeah, which
Depending-
looks like it's been normalized to 6, looking at the stream right now and seeing Kane, Siege, Cray, and Darius all having 6 there.
6 is pretty common. And then on top of that, you have control. Which
for them is just doubled as it was in the other, but could be different. So you could
It
have
isn't-
an
it
arc
isn't
of
always.
5 and a control of 12 still, and things
So,
like
for
that.
instance, if
But
I
it
load
isn't
up my
always.
Sakura list, what you have there is she's got arcane attack 7, arcane 6, but control 14.
Oh, okay.
So she's very good at slinging spells, and she's got a big control area, but she doesn't get much focus.
Yeah. So you get the limitation. You're not giving because it was just an increase, a straight scale up, right?
Yeah.
When you had focus 7 and 8 casters, they could just basically dominate a battlefield.
You made it a much less of a blunt instrument, which
Yeah.
actually does work pretty well.
And it was also a lot to get through in the defensive line. I assume there's still a focus for defense kind of aspect there.
Focus for defense remains the same as it was in Mark III, where rather than adding to armor,
it's like a get rid of to reduce damage.
Yeah, you take 5
And
off.
Fury transfers are the same. Fury transfer
Yes.
damage is the same.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, that whole effort was to equalize it between focus and fury. Where
So very much sorry.
Oh, carry on.
I would say so very much if all of us today decided we were going to go to a tournament together and we've all got models from that Mark II, Mark III era, we'd be able to create something right now with what we've got.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And-
That's a very exciting jump back in. It's not a, hey, I have to rebuy into this game. It's I can dip my toe in with stuff I used to have and then...
But is there a caveat? Because obviously these things don't... Well, they said they weren't going to get the balance passes as often.
That's unlimited.
Right, okay.
So, unlimited where everything is.
Mm.
That's not... almost intentionally not as balanced. They threw up stats for all the models. This is privateer, by the way.
So does that mean that Unlimited actually some of the rules will have changed? So like if I went to play Haley 2 in Unlimited, it might not be the Haley 2 I know and love from Mark II.
Well, let's have a look. In fact, let's have a look in cards because that's going to be easier.
I mean, I would say it may not be Mick, and it's a straight answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would feel similar, like the same.
I would think so. Yeah.
Just not as spicy.
I wish it was Mark II, Haley. Just feet on
No,
everything.
you do not.
Yeah, you do. I like crutches. I love crutches.
Andrew Galea flashbacks now. He used to play that a lot.
I can't walk without like 8 pairs of crutches.
Is that
How many tournaments did I rock up with Haley 2, Kane 2?
No, that's not the right Haley. So we've got Major
Haley 3.
So Haley 1, Major Victoria Haley. With Battle Lust. Okay. That's Captain Victoria Haley. Okay. So,
Major was 2.
There she is.
She's got Jackhammer.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So her feat is now 1 to Haze control range. Enemy models suffer -2 def. Enemy models beginning their activations in Haze control range suffer -2 speed. Temporal barrier lasts for 1 round. Oh, it feels so good to read that feat compared to the old one.
You can't move. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do nothing.
Yeah, then no. I say no. You can't play this game.
Give up your attack or your move. Take your pick.
Give your no. That's not the whole feat, is it though, Nick? That's not the important part of the feat. That's really missing the really important part of the feat in War Machine, because you've got to choose the activation order.
Oh yeah, that too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
I do know.
Time-consuming crap.
I managed to break someone with that feat.
I mean, I broke multiple times with that feat. I remember we were at the Snake Eyes tournament, and I popped it while we were playing a multiplayer 4-player game. And my brain just proceeded to melt as I was trying to figure out who activated what in what order.
I was going to say breaking people with Haley 2's feet isn't something to brag about.
No.
breaking me.
This wasn't me. This wasn't me feating with Haley. It was the Haley player feating on me. Because my reaction was, okay, right, it's my turn. You get to choose what order activates the fin. And they go, okay, activate that. Cool, done. Oh, this unit. Cool, done. This unit? I just went through, did nothing except had Karchev go, yeah, he takes his Arcantric Turbine and moves forward 4 inches. And the tow carries on. Your turn! So they had to have 2 turns back to back with absolutely no planning of what they were going to do. And the next turn, I think this is back in time turns as well. They just kind of sat there and went,
Oh, is this where you turn around with Karchev?
No, I did nothing. I literally moved 4 inches forward with Karchev and dragged 2 jacks. That's it. There was no attacks, nothing else moved. That was it. It was all done. But because they had no time to think about anything and hadn't had a plan going forwards, it was just kind of like...
It was like 10, 12 minute turn. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I can assassinate Karchev. I'm like, he's armor 25.
No, you can't.
and 34 boxes. Please, wail away. No, bring your caster in. Spend some focus.
Did that, game against Chimera, you're talking about the Knights, did they have the Knight caster on the table as well?
Yes, I believe so.
Because his armor's a bit like that. But anyway, yeah. He didn't have
Yeah.
that many boxes. A lot of boxes, but not that many boxes.
No, it was that was unpleasant.
Yeah.
Not knowing because they just brought their entire army at the middle of the table and said, "Can you deal with this?" And I went, "No,
Yeah.
no, I can't." Yeah, I was playing against Dan Price, and there's a point he brought the Warlock forward. He'd spent all his fury. It's like, "Oh, I've got no transfers. Oh, you're just gonna kill me." I'm like, "You have a solid wall of war beasts in front of you. I can't see you. I can't get to you. There's nothing doing." And yeah, by the way, it's -2 attack if you're within this many inches of me as well. Like, okay. Well, I know my Cadre Jacks can get up to Mat 11, but yeah, no. Kind of painful. Oh, actually, one thing as well that you probably won't have encountered so far with the new casters, of course, is not only do you have the Warjacks with their changeable arms and heads, the casters have the rack.
Oh yeah.
The casters have the rack. What does that mean?
So the rack. So where you would have started with like 5, 6, 7 spells, you now start with 2 or 3.
Oh, you build your spell list.
And you
so you know how you had spells before that were shared among the factions. So think about Signar.
Yeah.
You'd have Snipe,
Arcane Shield or things like that.
Yeah. So those common spells within the faction are in the rack. Your caster can't start with 2 or 3, and you can choose 2 or 3 more depending on the caster. That's a short version.
Okay, so your flavor spells like your Kane having Deadeye or something like that, they are particular to the caster, but then you can still have the faction thing, but you can go, actually, I fancy running Kane with Arcane Shield, or I fancy running him with what was one of the other Signar ones?
Chain Lightning.
Chain Lightning, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to work a bit like War Gear.
But it should be noted that they're not on the army list.
Okay.
They're in every game thing. So for instance,
so you don't write your list with those in mind. You can go, I'm facing something I'm gonna need heavy armor here, so I can take Arcane Shield for this game, and then hey, I'm facing something that's quite hard to hit but low health, so I'm gonna take Chain Lightning here.
Well, so for
When you're in a
instance,
tournament by the
yeah.
fourth game, you tend to stay to the same one.
yeah, you know which are your default ones, and then you kind of, oh, I'm coming up against this, I need these things. But like,
Yes.
for instance, we've got at the moment, I'm looking at Shiris, the Flawless Dark, which is the new, I believe it's the new Chimera.
She's the
Warlock.
main box starter box caster.
Oh, okay, it's the new one.
Scout
It's the starter box one. Okay, but they've got Banishing Ward and Hand of Destruction as their two base ones, and then they have 3 rack slots.
And do those flavor ones ever copy, or are they always unique to the caster?
There are some where the spells that they have base are also in the rack. So
interesting.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I've never seen that.
yeah, there is Avenging Force, which is available on both Sikora and in the Cadre rack.
Oh, I have not seen that anywhere yet. Okay.
Yeah. You can technically pick both, but why would you?
Indeed.
But yeah, then the Chimera rack is they've got Carnivore, Curse of Shadows, Dash, Dragon's Blood, Execration of Blackest Night, Host of Shadows, Occultation. Yes, every caster can have Occultation in Chimera. It's the worst. Silence of Death, Veil of Mists, and Watcher.
Okay.
But this is the thing as well. You can end up just, well, making bad mistakes by going, oh yeah, I'll take that, and that. And then realise, oh no, I've picked all the range self upkeeps.
So you only have one in at a time.
Yep, that's certainly. I did that in part of testing, where I was looking at what spells are picking up. Oh no, can't do that. You can also leave yourself completely without a magic attack, which you hadn't used to be able to do.
Most weapons not magical?
No.
My Shadow Tongue, my caster Shadow Tongue doesn't have a weapon at all in his stats. He's reliant on magic entirely.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like things like that have opened them up for a lot of interesting stuff. And on top of that, you also have the command cards. So these actually are in the list because some of them cost points. But when you're building the list, you pick 5 of these cards, and they might be things like Old Faithful, which you play at the start of a turn, and it will heal.
Start there.
It will heal a Jack or Beast up to D6 before you do any of the focus or fury manipulation. So
it's effectively items kind of thing.
Yes. But you've got things like Put the Fires Out, which means you stop a continuous effect. You've got
no more dice rolling.
Oh, well, to give your caster +1 focus to fury.
Yes. You've got Savagery, which can give grievous wounds to a weapon.
So everyone can get access to the Squire once per game then, if it's in that card. You just have to pay some points for it.
Oh, no. That's one of the freebies. That's one of the least powerful ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can have things like Arcane Forces, which add +5 to the range of all your spells for a turn. Sure.
Seems good.
Yep.
Trying to think. Spotter, is that +2? Is that 2 points for Spotter or 1?
Yes, Spotter. Play this card at any time during the activation of one of your warrior models or units. These models gain Mark Target this turn.
Yep.
Oh boy. True Inspiration to give something tough. I can never think of a bigger waste of a card. Because I would put it on a unit and then go 4, 3, 2, 4, 3. Oh, they're dead.
And were these Mark 3 or Mark 4 things?
These are Mark 4 things.
These brand new Mark 4.
I didn't like.
We saw some of it with what the Grimkin kind of had similar things. They had cards that were similar.
I say because I remember something like this. Obviously not as fully fleshed out. I just remember there being.
Grimkin had it, but
yeah.
Was there not a version of the game where there was all these command cards and stuff? What was that called? Like a kill team.
Company of Iron.
Company of Iron. That's the one.
So that was Property Press's skirmish game. Which was very much at squad level. Had like 2 unique Cadre and Signar solos.
Activation, I think.
I mean, it was a game that largely wasn't supported and wasn't played.
I could see that coming back though, with the sort of like love towards kill team like if they properly
I can't see
rejig that.
I can't see it coming back immediately, but
Yeah, down the line.
medium term, I think if SFG kind of found that War Machine had got its audience again and started to grow again, potentially it could come back. I think if Company of Iron was going to come back wholesale, I actually think that would have been in the Mark III, Mark IV switchover as an attempt to make War Machine back into a skirmish game. But yeah, no, I think it's a little early for that, to be honest. But yes, the origins of the command cards I think possibly came from there.
Okay.
About
I mean,
considering
that all
things,
sounds
right?
cool. And like these are all things that since the end of Mark II, start of Mark III, the changes that we haven't seen, and definitely sound like they've improved the game. And you guys are both very like optimistic and you're enjoying Mark IV. So
Yeah.
this is great to kind of hear from someone who's been out of it for,
I mean,
what feels like 10 years I've been out for it
yeah,
at this point.
My problems with Mark III near the end were primarily that there was just too much stuff. There was way too much. I couldn't keep track of anything in the game anymore. It was all over the place.
It was also a gotcha fest. You couldn't remember what everybody else was going to do before they did it. I got into CRISPR Guard. I loved CRISPR Guard. I built and collected it CRISPR Guard, and I did play it in quite a lot of events all over the place. But I just felt like I was always outmaneuvered and never knew what somebody was going to be doing. And that's gone. That is not there now. It's not as incomprehensible anymore.
I thought that Grimkin was definitely the era of the gotcha, especially with their hidden feet mechanic kind of thing. So
yes,
I don't know if that's...
they had the Arcana. They had the Major Arcana and the Minor Arcana, which were all reactions to something that you were doing.
Oh no, you've played my trap card or something.
Yes.
That was frustrating.
That's just brought back a deep lore memory that I think it relates to you, Nick, which is something like someone asked about a new meta in Yu-Gi-Oh! And said, "What are you going to miss the most?" And you said, "Turn 2."
Yeah, I think that sounds like a comment I would have made.
That is the deep lore. That's like
that's back in the days, yeah.
That's going back to Birmingham University playing World of Warcraft TCG and me meeting you for the first time.
Yeah.
What a mistake that was. Oh dear.
Yeah, no, I mean there was someone won one of the recent Yu-Gi-Oh events by getting all of Exodia on turn 1, so it definitely happened. Yeah, anyway, minis, not cards.
Yes,
so,
quite.
Does that still exist for the Grimkin? Do they still have the Minor and Major Arcana?
They have, yes, they do. It's kind of part of they have more of an expanded kind of command deck.
Yeah.
It includes their Arcana cards. They still don't have feats, which is funny. But they do have the Major Arcana card for each caster, which is kind of like their feat. Yeah.
And it's each faction, each they have one or it's still a hidden they've chosen before, and there's
none of it's
for
hidden.
The gotcha. None of it's hidden.
Yeah, I don't think any of it's hidden.
Okay.
So, for instance, there is a Grimkin only command card, which is Shroud, which is play this card. A friendly Grimkin Warlock. When a friendly Grimkin model is destroyed by ranged attack, for 1 turn, friendly Grimkin models gain stealth while in the Warlock's control range. Which is a stupidly powerful version of a command card, but it's eating up one of their command card slots. So
they get a few more, don't they? I think don't they get more? But anyway, they still got a limited number.
Yeah. So it's the command card system is. Yeah, I didn't like it at first, but the more I play with it, the more I realise, this is just adding some nice flexibility. Because now it means that one turn that I need Pathfinder, you can have it.
You didn't have to keep Rupert alive to make him give it you. It's just in a card you can pop whenever.
I mean, you should have some of that around because Pathfinder, but rough terrain is now -2 speed. So if you have somebody that gives somebody desperate pace, it is like having Pathfinder. So
Yeah.
there are equivalents to them, to Rupert kind of. But also, I'm finding that I'm using the same 5 cards, or more or less the same 5 cards, to do essential things like Pathfinder or breakthrough, or as in to be able to make attacks after when you leave combat.
Yeah.
There are 5 that I tend to stick to.
Yeah, I start with Power Swell, Old Faithful.
Yep. Got 5 now.
And whatever the Pathfinder one is that I can't remember.
Old Faithful is the Old Faithful.
Careful Recon? Yeah, Careful Recon.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you have in your mind, like, okay, what does this force need? Okay, we'll take those.
I experimented a lot early on with defenses and sappers and all those kind of things, and I now have winded right back into 5 core ones that I tend to need most of the time.
And are these command cards generic to everybody, or are they faction specific, or only faction specific in certain circumstances? And there's some generic ones.
Specific, generic to everyone.
So does that not make some of the factions where like you wouldn't have access to Pathfinder in this faction, and that was one of their challenges? And does it not round that off?
But that's the thing. You get access to that once per game on one thing. And that card is burned. And you can only use, 2 in a turn? And only up to...
One on a unit.
Yeah, 1 on a unit model. A model unit, rather. And then up to 2 in a turn. So, you've got to really pick what you want to do. I mean, I agree, yes, it does fall off some of the sharper edges. But you're also looking at factions that are much more constrained in what they can do. So it's not necessarily like they all find the cards necessary to do small fixes if you're trying to twist the list a certain way. So it just enables you to be a bit more varied with the smaller faction.
Okay.
Yeah, it enables you to be slightly more creative. There are lists that you physically could not run in earlier versions of the game, where now you can go, well, actually, if I pick the rack this way and pick my cards this way, I think I can do it.
There were things that I forgot to use a lot at the start of Mark IV, and then as you realise the benefits and the strengths of them, I find I now have them. I know what's in my deck. I tend to keep my deck to more or less the same as you've already said. Therefore, I know that I have Pathfinder in there if I need it for something, but I only use it when I need it. If I need to make that charge, if I don't need to lose the distance because I'm clipping the woods in order to get to this person, then I will use it on that occasion because I know I'm going to need it because that will bring that heavy down or it will do something significant. But like the way you use your feet. So it's like kind of how am I going to use it? They're little mini feats in some ways. Yeah, they are.
I will say as well, to anyone who's been to the Welsh Masters, you do get a copy of all those cards. You get a deck of those cards.
I've got one each year. I've got 2 now from the Welsh Masters. You can print them out as well. There's people who put them up online too.
Yeah. But it's not...
that's a good point. Is it... what's the card system now? Is it still cards and marker in a top loader, or is it
all digital?
Yeah.
All digital, all War Room.
Yeah, kind of. It's not called that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. War Room is gone. It's now just the War Machine.
The War Machine app. Yeah. Does that mean all the decks that I bought for Lifetime are just forever gone now?
I mean, all the ones in the new thing are free anyway, so. And for those people still playing Mark III, the Mark III app will be going offline in the next few weeks, apparently. So, yeah, if you don't have copies of the cards, I take screenshots. I don't think the Privateer card database is online anymore. So, yeah.
It was when I last looked, but that was before last Monday.
Yeah, that was my primary concern.
It's not long gone, but yeah.
But what I would say as well is the app is so much better than it used to be.
I agree. It's very, very good.
I never had issues with the War Room app. It was a little slow on some devices and a little battery intensive, but that I assume would have improved as technology's moved on, and
Yeah.
Wasn't it
better with coding
built
and stuff.
in? Wasn't it built in Unity though? Wasn't it like
Still
actually
is.
like? Okay, but it felt like you were loading a game itself back in the day. It was.
I mean,
I don't know.
it does. Devices become powerful enough there that Unity or not, it just works.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that, you know, if you're someone who's only ever used like War Room 1, which was fine, it's aggressively fine. Like it worked for what it was. It tracked damage. What more do you want? By the time we've got to the War Machine app, you know, you go to a match, you press play, you've got, you know, all the caster stats down, well, all the unit stats down the left. If you select a unit, it appears on the right. You know, you've got all your damage tracking there, telling you what's up, what's not at a glance. It's
Pretty good.
I will say, Games Workshop, take note, because your app is actually terrible compared to what PP produced.
It works really wonderfully on a decent 10-inch sort of tablet. I bought a Fire tablet, 10-inch tablet, to run it on primarily for this purpose, and you get so much more, real estate on the screen to be able to look at things at the same time. It's very, very good.
Do you know what I will honestly say this, right? Last week, I brought my iPad down to the shop to play War Machine, but in the end, I just had my phone on the table. I was like, yep.
I mean, phones are bigger now as well, right? Like, I'm sure my phone's like, I don't know,
it's
not far off 10 inches.
The thing is, though, if you're lazy, it's fully usable. Or I would have it at the Welsh, where my army was up on my tablet, and I'd be there on my phone going, what's that unit? What's it do?
Yeah.
Oh, it does that.
Or what is your army? Can I have your army code and I'll look at that on my phone? I'll have my army set up on the tablet. Yeah.
So I will say there is a little bit of stuff you need to do first with that one, because if you're not online, it won't generate the QR code. So there is the army sharing stuff. Possibly still needs a little bit of work in my eye.
It's the best we've ever seen it, but I agree. Yeah.
Yes, especially because it requires like 4 different QR codes.
I
Nobody
wouldn't
got time
do
for
the
that.
QR codes. I'd put the 6-digit number and it works really well. Yeah.
Oh, I've not seen that. Okay, that's fair enough.
You just generate the 5 or 6-digit code. You put that into the other phone. It comes up really quick. Really easy.
Okay, fantastic. Okay,
the barcode,
that proves that even
QR is a bit flawed.
Yeah, even since it's just been the War Machine app, they put improvements in, which is that's absolutely fine. And actually, as well as that, so previously we had War Room with. Okay, who ever tried to load up the War Machine rulebook in War Room 2?
Oh God!
No,
Like,
yeah, no, that took a while.
Just crashed half the time. Now we have specifically formatted rules for tablet with big buttons for links that are fully searchable and doesn't crash every time you try and do something.
I do find that text searching is better in a PDF in the PDF version than it is in the app version. However, but you're right, the direct links are very, very good.
Yeah.
To jump straight to a rule is very, very good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want as a player, or even as a judge, when you just need to look something up. You just want to look at the specific line that relates to whatever it is you're questioning at the time, and whatever erratas have happened around it. If there's like a specific rule errata or a rule interaction that they've listed on it.
Yeah.
That's what you want in the moment. If you want to sit and study the rulebook, then you're probably not doing it on your phone. Well, maybe you are if you're on the train, but
I mean, as well as that, you've now, in the same place, because they've learned this one, you've got your Steamroller rules. Like, same screen as the rules, Steamroller rules are all there. You can look at the scenarios. I would say, if Steamforged wish to make any changes to the Steamroller pack, putting some of the measurements in that PP have missed from that diagram, especially where scenarios are asymmetric, would be really appreciated.
Yeah.
because there are just random tokens. So I will again bring this up on stream because this just gets.
You can work it out, but it's not straightforward and quick, is it?
Oh, it's actually slightly under the chat box, sadly. But yeah, okay. Sadness. I'll have to redo this. But there's the 30mm marker that is on the player 2 side of the map I'm showing. Has no measurements. Now in that one you can work it out. It is 18 and 18 because it is like that on the player 1 deployment. But there are other scenarios where it is not symmetrical and it is not easy to work out.
So you can work them all out, but it is not easy. Yes.
What I would say though
It's easier if it's marked.
Is there is a website called sr24.onrender.com where you pick a scenario, say wolves at their heels, you pick a player, and then you pick the objective, and it gives you the measurements.
I need to write that website down because both you and Jacob told me that in Welsh, and I didn't actually take it in properly.
I will put it in our Discord for you. Yeah. See, this is the handy thing. I can put it in our Discord now. There we go.
Oh, lovely! Thank you.
You can get access to it immediately.
The wonders of technology.
Yeah.
We've been going for a couple of hours now on the first episode back.
Crikey, so we have.
Do you want to wrap this up with a painting table and we start planning return episode number 2?
Oh, I think it's probably about time because I know you said you were kind of only you only had batteries to go to 10:30, so yeah, we'll do a quick painting table. So let's go for we'll go in the order that it's here. Alex,
What?
Are you awake? What's on your painting table?
Mess. I haven't
Any
painted
ninjas?
anything in too long.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, personal news. Got another baby on the way.
Oh, congratulations!
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, I think it's congratulations anyway.
Is that what I said when you told me? I'm not sure. Anyway, moving on.
But yes, no. So well, yeah, big life changes have happened since we've last been on air, but we'll not go into that right now. Yeah,
fair enough.
From the bridge and all that, but yeah. So in the process of trying to get my house in a baby safe manner, and it's been a long renovation project. So my painting table is my house. That's really all I have time for. Yeah, that's it's short and sweet for me. If it was something though, it would be a Bushido model. So no one will care anyway, apparently.
Aww.
36 players at UK Games Expo. For,
I don't care about Bushido.
Pretty good. 36 players is still a live community. Probably more than Mark III War Machine had.
I'll be honest. Tournament of 8 will do for most systems. Yeah.
Are the minis plastic, Alex? Or
no.
I don't give a shit then. Sorry.
Fair play. Yeah, whatever.
So
as I said earlier on, if you're not interested, that's fine by me.
So bench.
Sorry.
What's on your painting table?
Dark Angels, lots of first Legion, sorry. Dark Angels. I have a game penciled in at some point in July. Starter to the Heresy. I've got about 3,000, maybe 4,000 points. Most of it painted already.
This is Horus Heresy Dark Angels, not 40k.
Yes, Horus Heresy Dark Angels. Got so into like all the various different like wings and stuff like that. All the iconography and stuff. Decals have come a hell of a long way.
They have.
Back in the day.
I still refuse to use water slide transfers, but there we go.
Okay then. And in family news, since Alex, I got married in March, so.
Oh, that's bench.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I've been married now for how long? April, May. We're into June, so I haven't been divorced yet.
And yet you still live.
Yes, I still live, and we're still together. So there we go.
Well, that said, living was the more questionable one of those two, but fair enough. Okay. Next one down the list, Kurt.
Hello.
What's on your painting table?
A cunning mixture of quite a lot of Chimera, quite a lot of very pink Chimera at the moment because I'm still working out our color scheme. There are some Dark Angels, but I really need to put some paint on them. They just come out of the last 40k starter box that I've gone stuck together when I felt like it. I need to paint those as well. But principally focused on Chimera, working out how I want to paint them. And painting Chimera. I obviously have painted a lot of trolls in the last year. Pretty much all of the new blind blood trolls.
If it's Chimera, don't you just like spray them black and then dry brush them with purple and dry brush them in white, or just...
Have you met me?
Yes.
So, there's nothing wrong with dry brushing though.
Chimera sound like a very me faction to paint.
I'm not dissing dry brushing ever. I use it as a technique of choice all the time, and as I use contrast paints, but it's stop at contrast paints. But it's I'm still working on it. I've got this weird fluorescent pink stuff on most of the models that I've been painting and trying to work out how to contrast, how to find something that contrasts it and lines up. I don't know. I'm still messing around with it.
Do you
I'm trying to do brighter, you know?
Do you do oil washes yet?
I recently bought some oils, as in they arrived this week. So no, but yes.
I'd be interested to see.
I want ultra bright glowy bits as well. So I want to do ultra bright glowy bits. So I've learned that actually oil white with thin down is brilliant for glowy kind of bits as well.
See, what I was going to say was, you having mentioned contrast paints and going back to glowy bits, going with white and then GW's Ethematic Blue is just the most doddle of a way to do, like, oh, this is vaguely electrical or magical. It's fine.
Oh, Talasar Blue was scary. I just wanted I ended up almost with like 1,000 sun, kind of wash. I was not expecting. They're very weird. I haven't got used to contrast entirely yet. I think the only three that I've got are the Apothecary White, Black Templar, and this Talasar Blue. I don't.
Having done my not Skaven, my Underworld Denizens Blood Bowl team entirely with contrast paints. That is, it's a mindset adjustment. You've got to learn how to work with it. Just learning with things like you need to paint from the top down and you need to paint quick and not stop.
I started off with priming everything slightly differently, priming in a mid grey, highlighting everything with an off white with a big brush to start with, and then putting contrast paints on, a bit like the Zenithal, but I don't spray Zenithal with an airbrush. I dry brush it heavily first to give you that effect, and then slap the contrast on, and that's how I did all the trolls as a starting point. And then I highlighted and shaded and did lots of intricate details and lots of silly mollusks and little whatever crayfish or whatever else is on the models, because there's loads of silly, funny little details all over the trolls.
Yeah. So, I mean, going to my painting table, I'm doing something similar with the bison, the Cadre bison at the moment. That I've learned from doing Zenithals, because, as you said, Zenithal highlight either prime grey or prime black, and then give it a blast of white from above. But what I've learned since then is to undershoot things as well. So my bison, as well as all my Cadre so far, I have Vallejo black green and Vallejo Russian 4BO green. And what I do is undercoat black, then, as you would with the Zenithal, but kind of the opposite, so shooting from underneath the model, go with the black green, which is a darker green effectively, and then go with the 4BO from the top. So in the recesses, you've always got the same green, but it's a much darker, richer, bluer green, so it looks like a shadow.
That's very cool.
I used it to similar effect on my Ultramarines that I've got. because when you look at them naturally, they just look like one color effectively. But what you don't realize is that because they're shot from underneath with a much darker blue, it's creating all those shadows that you kind of almost don't even realize are there. Yeah.
Cool. I should also add that I'm a big fan of the Two Thin Coats paint range as well. I bought into the Kickstarter on the first set, and then last year I won Best Painted at the Welsh. Didn't this year, but last year I did, so I got a full paint. So I have 2 full sets of the original starter as original set.
Oh, would this be Two Thin
Well, I
Coats?
use
Brought to us
contrast to
by a
base
friend of the
everything.
show, Pete Buxton.
Yeah, indeed, and
Yeah.
who encouraged me obviously and gave me lots of information about it. So I backed Kickstarter initially. Yeah, really love those. They're really nice paints. Really love those.
What I would say is, if you ever want to run a paint through an airbrush, yeah, Two Thin Coats or Viaho Model Air.
Oh wow.
Two Thin Coats. What have we got? We've got Marine Blue and Elysium Blue. Like I've
heard. Sorry, XL Blue from PP is particularly good through an airbrush.
You don't swear on this show, Alex. So for anyone not in the know, XL Blue from P3 Paints, more on that in a second, is one of the worst formulated paints I've ever had the misfortune to try and run through an airbrush. I decided I was going to paint Eldar with the stuff, and it has jammed my airbrush so badly that it took me just hours of taking it apart, cleaning it, airbrushing on some more. You cannot thin it enough, because you get to the point where it's just thin enough to run through the airbrush, and it loses surface tension, and it won't paint with it.
Wow.
It is so bad. It's a lovely colour, but it is absolutely awful to airbrush with. And given that P3 has now been bought by Steamforged, I'm begging them to look at some of the formulations of some of those old colours, because there are some beautiful colours in the P3 range, like coal black and underbelly blue, and like stuff that I can't replace in other ranges.
I'm a massive fan of Menoth White Highlight. I use it instead of white almost all the time.
The two Menoth Whites, Menoth White Base and Menoth White Highlight, so versatile
Really
as paints go.
Yep.
That paint that you said you tried to run through, I have a similar one with Murderous Magenta from the P3 range. It just does. It's very similar to what you. It's a nice colour, but
Murderous Magenta and Beaten Purple. Again, I use those for a lot of my mercs. They're beautiful colours. Just so infuriating to do anything with.
The Sanguine one was quite good of P3. Like them.
Sanguine Red was meant to be a base colour, so yeah, that covers and goes through stuff pretty nicely.
Yeah.
But yes, there are so many colours in the P3 range that are beautiful, and I would not want to see them go. But I really hope there's just a little bit of tinkering with the formula. What I would say is, there's some really nice dropper bottles that Two Thin Coats are using that fit perfectly in really useful boxes. Like, literally, they are the right size, so you can store your entire collection in a single really useful box. Yeah, please use those.
Oh, God, Vallejo is a lot cheaper than Two Thin Coats, though. Like, for a paint set, just doing a quick Google.
Two Thin Coats are on the pricier side.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to afford that unless I win a painting competition, which I probably wouldn't do. So, no, Vallejo though.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just been linked to Reddit thread that Nick posted.
Why don't you read that while Nick tells us what's on his painting table?
Yeah.
What cards have you painted, Nick?
None. I don't do altars. I don't really have any cards anymore. I did pick up Shatterpoint back when that released, which feels like it was a couple of years ago.
I've not painted any of that yet.
Well, I've not built any of it yet because I
built
got this
loads,
job that had me travel around. But I intend to build them and paint them at some point. I've at least got some base coat to prime them up once I build them. I just need to get through the first step. So yeah, every week you can just keep asking me how those models are coming, and eventually I'm sure I'll give you an update.
Might even encourage me to paint some of mine. I've got too much data point for a game I've never played. I've got too much of it.
Yeah, I picked up the starter box on pre-order, so it came with the Ahsoka Padawan model as well,
Oh, cool.
which was really cool. And then I picked up the for my birthday last year, I got the Obi-Wan squadron. But every time I look now, there's so many more squadrons, and I still haven't played any games of it.
They've done the original trilogy era now. They're doing it at the moment. It looks very cool. I'm a big fan
nice.
of that.
They got. It feels like it's moving forwards in the time, right? They did a lot of prequel stuff moving into.
They kind of started at Jedi with the new stuff, and then they've kind of gone back through original trilogy kind of thing. It's not quite in order, but it's definitely moving that way. But they've already done Mandalorian's already out as well.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you're right. They've done the Old Republic, and now they're kind of going into
I mean, I guess it makes sense to do what's super popular right now. So hit Mandalorian, hit the Ahsoka.
I want the Rebels box.
I mean, I would go. Ezra is one of my favorite all-time characters in Star Wars, so I would love an Ezra Force, or even just all the Spectres, just like a Spectre Force with all of them would be absolutely amazing. But I imagine in the game that'd be pretty overpowered because they're all pretty big names, right?
I get the impression that the balance is pretty good. I like the game. I know this is not a Star Wars Touchpoint podcast, but I do enjoy that. I want to get into it and play with that if I could fit it in one of the games.
But yeah, so nothing on the painting table, that on the construction table. Hopefully I'll get them constructed at some point. Maybe, but I doubt by episode 2, but probably in the coming months.
Maybe even some more machine.
Maybe. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to come back on here was, firstly, Steamforged, obviously buying it, and those old names that we know and love, or being a part of it now. Second, Mike chatted to me about Mark IV at UK Games Expo, and it sounded interesting. And yeah, just to kind of get the gang back together.
Yeah, and it's been very weird to podcast together after years. Although I've got to say, it feels good to be back.
Yeah.
So, do you know, I can't remember the outro.
It was Alex, wasn't it?
It was Alex. It was Take Us Away, Alex.
Alex!
Fuck you all.
Alex doesn't remember either.
No, you've been listening to the War Machine Hordes podcast that's been away for umpteen years. I've been Alex.
Bench.
I've been Kurt.
Mike died.
No, I haven't died. I normally go last.
It's a Mexican standoff. Do you normally go last? I thought I always went last.
Goodbye,
Nick.
I've been Mike.
Say goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Nick.
Oh dear. Editing nightmares ahoy.
Don't you have that Dead Space filler thing that you always talked about? Like?
Oh, I have so many tricks. The only problem is I'm working with a new copy of Audacity, so like all the settings are gone.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
I hate it. Don't make me delve into the soundboard, you cretin. I have too many things in here. It's horrible. The fact that some of them are like from like, here's a Discord full of trains. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, so like I do just have like train noises, I guess.
Nice.
User disconnected from your channel.
Okay.
I do like that post. Who are these guys? What's Elite Cadre?
Yeah, what's Elite Cadre? Yes, I know. They're entirely within their rights to ask who the hell Elite Cadre is.
I know. I don't know who we are.
We've been away for 3 years. But as I said, Benj, like it's going to take some time for the channel to register as anything. I need to leave links in places.
Yeah.
Do we still have will we still be doing the podcast side on whatever podcast we used to?
Yes.
iTunes or whatever.
So
is it worth linking that?
yes, it will be going up in the same place on iTunes. The blog is in the same place. The storage actually still has all the old episodes on, believe it or not. Because I just kept
probably playlist all the YouTube episodes on your channel and just link them somewhere as well.
I kept it on AWS. It's like it's $2 a month. I just don't care. But yes. So what I will be doing as well is I will be submitting it to Spotify and Google Podcasts, and there's another one as well. Just so that it's
Google Podcasts is going.
No, it's
YouTube.
It's transmitted somewhere else though.
Yeah, YouTube to YouTube Music or whatever it's called.
Yeah, so there'll still be a space for podcasts, and I'll find a way to do whatever I need to put it on there. So
since Loxon was in the chat, can we get a sponsorship? Or somebody.
I think we need to do more than one episode.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. What about HelloFresh?
Oh no.
I talked to Matt.
Raycon.
Sponsorship. I talked to Matt and I talked to Russ, and Russ has asked me to reach out to them formally to Steamforged, so I'll do that tomorrow. I know we've actually done one.
Yeah.
And we can definitely get their involvement, but sponsorship probably not. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I imagine if we keep this, are we still on the air? First of all,
hang on. Well, tell you what, I'll press the stop streaming button in a second. So, so to everyone who's been listening tonight and everyone who does listen on YouTube, thank you very much for listening to the return of Elite Cadre. Hopefully, we can keep you entertained with some witterings in future. But yeah, stream for tonight is going to end here. So yeah, have a good one, and we'll see you